You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
I'm gonna come.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
I don't really care, Margaret.
The N-word.
Got an idea? Why don't we just kill him?
I like how you.
Go home to mommy. Salute.
Oh my goodness. Having all kinds of technical issues already. Can't get web pages to reload for whatever reason, so I'm just trusting that the stream is actually going out because comments are coming in. And then the soundboard doesn't work. I've got to reload the soundboard mid-intro, and then some of them work, and then it has to reload itself. Holy crap. What is going on? It is Friday. That's what it is. It is Friday. And Lord have mercy, do I want these internet things to improve? Because given that the entire show is premised upon me loading up lots and lots of web pages and playing lots and lots of videos, I'm going to have to completely change the format of the show if I can't do that. And no idea what I'll do in that case. But thank you guys for being here tonight. It is late. It is much later than intended, as usual. I'm Sisyphus. Rolling the rock up the hill. Augustine says, is your RAM good? My RAM is gone. It is sold. Long gone. We got the Ford F-150 Lightning. That's actually part of the reason why I'm late. I had to get the truck moved into the garage because summer is over. And that means that thunderstorms are starting to roll in again. We're supposed to get not that RAM, the other one. Oh yeah, no, this is not a hardware issue. No, this has nothing to do with hardware. Hardware is I could be with my hardware and my fiber internet right now. I could probably be like exporting a video or rendering a video from what do you call it? From like some sort of studio video editing software while I'm doing the stream. I have oodles and oodles of capacity from hardware and from an actual bandwidth standpoint. It's something that's going on with different websites. Kick is just not loading. It's just simply not loading at all. I'm streaming fine. I was streaming a YouTube video earlier. You know what I'm doing right now with the graphics live on the TV and playing the soundboard.
No thanks, irrelevant pervert.
And talking and streaming all this. This is very, very intensive. For whatever reason, Yeah, just does not, is not cooperating. But anyways, had to get the truck moved inside because we were getting a thunderstorm that's supposed to hit us. It's hitting the Dallas boys already and supposed to get to us at some point tonight. We're supposed to get 1.5 inches of rain over the next 24 hours. We'll see if that actually happens. Usually the little, 3 to 5 square or 3 to 5 radius, 3 to 5 mile radius area here gets, half of what it usually is, but 75, 3/4 of an inch of rain in one day would be quite a bit of rain. So we're actually looking forward to that. Looking forward to that very much. It always brings cooler temperatures with it, at least the day after. So tomorrow morning should be just glorious. Yes, it is plugged in. It is currently plugged in right down below me, in fact. Let's see here. So I was late because I was getting all that put in there and put inside, and we had to move stuff around, and I ended up having one of those full, you guys see the videos of like the dad crash outs? Oh, I dad crashed out hard. I had to go apologize to Amy later because I started ranting and raving about how much I hate all the stuff that we have, and I keep being late and this thing and that thing and the other thing, and I was chimping, and Amy just got out of the way. She's very gracious. You guys should send some tips tonight. You should, look at that. We've been married for 7 years now, 7.5 years, and it shows. Prove to her just how much you appreciate her. Show your gratitude to her by hitting up the tips link here. Let me get that dropped in the chat. I am doing this on a full-time basis, so my bills get paid when you guys pay them for me. That's the trade-off here. I come here and do this content way too late, and you guys join me in the live chat, or you listen later on, and you hit the tips link. There's also a Venmo or Cash App will work. Those don't. I haven't been able to get those integrated with Streamlabs, so they won't show up on the screen here. But Venmo and Cash App, just look for King Pilled, Cash App Patel. And then also there's a Buy Me a Coffee as well. And that's another one. I tried to get it integrated and the little graphic thing wouldn't work and it wouldn't play the animation. And I was like, I don't have time for all this. I got so much to do here. Yeah, it is a late show. But, and then the other thing I had to do was Eastwood decided that he wanted to play the game where I'm the big scary giant that's trying to attack mommy. And he is the brave knight who fights off the giant and protects his mother. So we did that for a little while, and we're trying to teach him how to stop scratching. No scratching, no pinching. You are not allowed to scratch or pinch. You're a boy. You punch. So you make a fist. You get that fist properly, not over your thumb, so you break your thumb. You get nice, proper fist there. Set your feet. Drive your hips. Rotational force. Drive straight through. So he's kind of getting halfway there. He does the he makes the fists right, and then he just starts hitting me with his fists, and I'm like, no, punch, and then I have to be careful because every once in a while he does punch, and he goes at eye level, just straight, bam, and I have to be paying attention for that at all times. This is life with a 5-year-old boy. You have to always be prepared to just get straight up popped in the giblies for no apparent reason whatsoever, just because you happen to exist at that spot at that time. Start an Eastwood punching bag fund. Yeah, we actually had a punching bag for him, but it wasn't. It was one of the ones that just like sat on a little thing, and it was kind of flimsy and didn't hold much appeal to him. And it doesn't move around. He doesn't stay in one place ever at all for anything. Except for if he's watching like Clipper or Kid Crew or something. So I think he just got bored with it very quickly. We need to be able to build a padded room and put a bunch of furniture on there that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it breaks, and then have a substantial hospital bill or substantial hospital fund. And then just cut him loose inside that room and let him go ham, just breaking things, falling, jumping off of stuff, smashing stuff into it. He would probably do that for 10 hours a day if we allowed him to. My rest is fund Eastwood's jiu-jitsu lesson so he could take Matt out. Yeah, I might have to start taking jiu-jitsu just so I can keep up with him. Patchy says, some random HVAC technician told me how to punch when I was like 6 years old. Never tuck your thumb. That's right. It sounds like you had a patriot of an HVAC technician. Teaching a 6-year-old kid how to punch. He's setting you up right. Barndon says, our son is 6, and about once a day he asks if he can punch me in the stomach, and I let him. He loves it. Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Eastwood doesn't ask. He just does it. And loves it. But he does not like getting punched back. That is crossing a line in his opinion. Every time he plays a game, the first thing he wants to do is rig the rules of the game openly and transparently in his favor. He has zero qualms, zero shame about this. So how about we fight, except you hold your hands behind your back and you don't use them at all? No, we're not going to play that way. You're going to get punched. If you want to punch, you're going to get punched. He doesn't want to get punched. He just wants to wail on me for free. So we've got to. I'm trying to figure out which part of this is like. How do you? Yeah, boy already understands power. Exactly. How do you cultivate that part while also not raising a completely entitled sociopath? Like how do you balance those two things? This is what we live with. These are the sorts of things I think about every day when I'm not doing the astrolabe or preparing for it. Patchy says Eastwood has aristocratic wasp mentality. Yep, he was born with it. He is fully ready for some social nationalism by the time he comes of age. Okay, so let's get ourselves started. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to Cooper's Gifts and Go. It is so cool to see everybody pitching in for the man. You guys contributed a whole bunch before I even sent it over to OGC. And before we got the Pete Quinones retweet. And then that happened. And we are now up to, I'm pulling it up here real quick. If the page will load. Hey, there it is. Up to 11,915. Almost 12 grand. This is going, you guys are you guys are changing the Brooks family's life here. They needed this. They needed this in a big way. They've got a lot of stuff going on. They got a lot of stuff going on right now, and you guys have helped them out tremendously. So thank you for that. The goal is set at 20,000, and it's TBD what the medical bills are actually going to come back as. And so going to do everything possible to try to minimize them, but there's not really a way to minimize, even minimizing medical bills like this within the current year. Even minimizing medical bills like this is still it's still a substantial chunk. So here, I'll drop the link in there for anybody in the chat here on Kick, for anybody who has not hit it yet. Cooper Gifts and Go. There you go. And that is for anyone who still wants to contribute. Thank you so much to all of you guys. 138 givers so far. So thank you for that. And let's see. Let's close out some tabs here that I don't need. And stream is still not coming up at all. So you guys are going to have to let me know ASAP if something goes down, because I'm not going to be able to tell apart from your comments. Okay, first thing here. What are we going to talk about today? So, there was another leftist terrorist attack. This one hasn't really made the news as a terrorist attack, but it absolutely was a terrorist attack on the Coast Guard. So, the leftists are now... It's not just, I think people kind of have like, you got like ICE and DHS, and those are like federal agents, but that's sort of like a different category than the actual military. Now, there's plenty of people who might say that the Coast Guard is not the actual military, the poor coasties, what do they call them, the puddle pirates. But very technically here, I've heard about what the rescue swimmers do. I've heard about the sort of training they go through. It's insane. There's no Coast Guard hate here. I think, so what we have now is, whatever you think of the Coast Guard, this is quite literally a leftist terrorist attack on a military establishment. This is them actually opening up direct violent hostilities with the U.S. military. So we'll talk about that. Also, my gaming brethren, this is not necessarily typical Astrolabe content, really, but Halo, the new Halo game, has been announced. The first trailer dropped, and we're going to do one of the react to a reaction things here. We're going to watch Asmongold reacting to it. We'll get to that here fairly early on. We've got a bit about Will Stansel and the Spectator now getting themselves involved in the dog pile. We got a bunch of odds and ends things, and then we're going to talk about JD Vance and a rather significant thing that happened with him over this past week. He went to Israel, and there was a couple of interesting stories that came out of that. But I thought this would be a good opportunity to reread. I've got an entire episode dedicated just to reading this, but I'm going to read it again here tonight. This article written by JD Vance in April of 2020, titled "How I Joined the Resistance on Mama and Becoming Catholic." And I think it is worth revisiting. I'm going to try to minimize my commentary on it this time so it's not quite as long as before, but I think this is worth revisiting in the context of everything that we've seen and heard from JD over the last 9 to 12 months. And there's a little something about him and his relationship with his wife with respect to the church. And now that we've seen him making some pretty significant, let's say, demonstrations of his faith publicly, I think it's worth revisiting that article. So we will read through that on the back end of today. So let us get started. So first of all, this is a short one. This is just for this is for those for whom it's for. You will know yourself.
What does your shirt say?
It says, "Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head."
Joyed.
Tom.
What does your shirt say?
It says, "Don't waste your time on me. You're already the voice inside my head."
Where are my Luangooners at? Shout out to our favorite spaghetti man, spaghetti American, Tom D. Luongo. Then this one here, Tyler in the King Pill Discord dropped this banger earlier today. Those of you who are real Labians, you'll get this one. You've got the I just forgot her name. The actress in this movie that was announced recently about some lady who's investigating right-wing extremist networks online, and the meme that came out of that, if you know it, you know it. Captioned, "So he gives money to the streamer, and then the streamer plays an AI video of the president calling him the gayest person to ever walk this green earth. Why would he do that?"
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
There you go, Dave. You got a free one. Gave you one for free. See, we got the Discord's a real place. We even got our own memes now. You're missing out. If you're not there, you're missing out. You had to get this second or third hand. Why don't you just go join the Discord? Kingpill.com. It is bustling with activity in there. And I just created a new channel for everyone who subscribes at the Lord or King tier. There is a new channel in there for genealogy. If you want to get digging into your genealogy, there's a channel specifically for that. The title of the channel is Deep Roots Not Reached by the Frost. 10,000 Patriot points to you if you get that reference. But this is for any discussion of genealogy, family trees, ancestry, etc. And one of our longest termed Discord members, Discord diggers, yes, come be a Discord digger. One of our most seasoned Discord diggers, I don't mean that in a double meaning here, she is a boomer grandma gamer who is also very enthusiastic about ancestry, and she has offered her services. She's done a lot of her own, building out her own family tree, and so if that's something you want to do, she's willing to help you out just for fun, just as a hobby. So she's got some resources she's dropping in here, and she's happy to help walk you through it all. So that could be a draw for you if you subscribe at the Lord or the King tier, then you will get access to that channel, along with a bunch of others. There's one for discussion of hunting and the pew pews and such. There's one for alcohol and tobacco. There's what is there? There's like entrepreneurship. There's investing and financial stuff. There's parenting. There's book club. We need to get that book club a little more active. Might need to, going into 2026, might need to do a little something with that. I got fitness and diet and such things, along with all the other typical. There's meme thread, and there's a general chat, and then there's theology, Theologumena, and there's a conspiracy channel, Anunnaki Bukaki. We have the best channel names. So, kingpill.com if you would like to become a Discord digger with the rest of us. And that's a great way to support the show. Yeah, Ian Rhodes says, join the Discord, you pack of cunts. Mr. Sue is in there. Oh, no, how is he not here? Yeah, Mr. Sue. Where the hell are you? What else do you have going on? Clayton Kershaw is retiring. And if you don't know who Clayton Kershaw is, he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, has pitched for the Dodgers for his entire career. He was did a little reading. He's been around even longer than I realized. 2008 is when he made his debut. He has been in the major leagues for 17 years, and he has been dominant for nearly all of those years. And he also is a devout Christian who was not in the best way that he could without really causing a shitstorm, and it still caused a shitstorm. He pushed back against the celebration of Pride. I think he's done it multiple times, but in particular this year, he played. He had the hat that had like the Pride coloring on it, and he did that. But he wrote on the side of it the verses, Genesis 9. It's like 12 to 16, I think, which is the passage in Genesis where it talks about the rainbow, where God sends the rainbow, and he's a good dude, very good dude, and has, I believe, 5 children. So his children left him a message before the final games of his career. He's obviously plays for the Dodgers, and they are in the World Series right now. I've not caught up with it. I did my thing. I did my time. I dipped my toe back into baseball, and treated me exactly the way it always has. So I am out again. I'm out until the spring. But here is the message that Clayton Kershaw's kids left him before the last games of his career.
Hi, Dad. Hey, Potato. Hey, Dad, it's Charlie. Hi, Dad, it's Callie. I have loved being here for all your games ever since the day I was born. You've had a lot of great moments in your life and in your baseball career. I am so happy and excited for the Dodgers to go to the World Series and for all of our family to be a part of it. I love watching you play baseball. You're like the best player in the world. I can't believe I have this dad. We love you. And I'm excited for you to be home to come watch my baseball games and maybe even coach them. And now it's your turn to be at all my games. The best dad I the world. I love you so much, Dad. Dad, I love you so much. Now so go Dad. Peace out. Wow.
No, you're crying. How beautiful. What a legacy. What a legacy. Beyond as a baseball player, just as a man. The 5 children. 5 children deserves.
Salute.
What a good man. My wife says that man is rich in ways money can never touch. Indeed. Absolutely. You should do whatever you can. Well, okay, I shouldn't frame it that way. If you do not have children right now, and you're a man, I mean, if you're a woman too, but someone else can talk to the women. If you are a man and you do not have children right now, you need to be wholly focused. Every single thing you do needs to revolve around getting to that. This is your number one focus. You must procreate. Now, as I said, I'm not saying that you must do everything you can to make children, because someone's going to take that the wrong way. You have to do it the right way. You're not just creating children, you're creating future generations. Do it the right way. Yes, put away the rape cage. Ethically and legally, right? Make babies. There's a great clip. I didn't pull it up for today. I should have. I'll have it on the next. I'll try to remember to have it on the next one. There's a video of a little baby babbling, and it is a French baby. Hasn't learned how to speak French, but it is babbling in French. And I saw probably 10 different people tweet some variant of, send this to her and say, let's make one. Yes. Send it to her and say, let's make one. And if you don't have a her, you don't have a proper her for the proper terms for making one, go get one. Go marry one. Marry one and put a baby in her. The future of the country literally depends on it. And your own future depends on it. Do it now. One of the things that Charlie said that really has echoed in my head every single day since then is have more children than you're comfortable having. I don't remember if that's exactly how he said it, but that was the message. Have more children than you can afford. Have more children than you're comfortable having. That one hit me right there. Yes, Lord, I hear you. Thank you for your patience. Forgive me.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
He said, have more than you could afford. Check. Done. Fake news. Fake news. We can afford more. We can afford more as long as you guys continue supporting the show. So if you want more Ericssons, if you want more King Pill babies, hit the Streamlabs link, tips.kingpill.com. How's that for some shameless grifting? Do it in front of my wife. Now, speaking of affording children, yeah, the King Pill Baby Fund, yes. Maybe that's what I should start. Maybe I should change it from Matt's streamer salary to the King Pill Baby Fund. That's not a bad idea, actually. That may happen next month. We'll see. We talked yesterday about the early retirement boomers who were very upset that they were not going to. They potentially may not have subsidized healthcare in the near future, and it's funny. Cooper and I were talking about this the other day. That both of us have we've given up on the idea of having health insurance for the foreseeable future. We're just not expecting to. It is a absolute and complete scam. The baseline level of insurance that you can get is effectively just catastrophe insurance. It's just there in the case that you have some sort of massive catastrophe. And where we are financially and personally, that's just not a luxury that we can afford. That's not something that we can justify. If something catastrophic happens, well, we're going to be in a catastrophic situation. That is by definition. But the health insurance market is so utterly and completely borked that it's not even worth participating in. And we did the health share, and the health share was kind of nice, but it was a gigantic pain in the ass. And a lot of different people I've heard from who've been parts of lots of different health shares. It's just a gigantic pain in the ass. And frankly, if you just cash pay everything, it's much, much cheaper. And we're living in a world now where, everybody has debt. So if you have medical debt, yeah, sure, okay, great, you got medical debt. This is something that's totally anathema to the boomer and even really the Gen X mind. The Gen X maybe gets a little more than the boomers do, but millennials, Zoomers, oh, you should do everything you can to not have medical debt. Yeah, I sure would like to make sure I do everything I can to not have medical debt, but there's a very good possibility that, given the vast array of circumstances, medical debt is very likely going to happen. If I need any sort of health care, I'm going to have medical debt. Yep, that's right. Because if there's anything that I'm paying up front to try to minimize that, all I'm doing is increasing the cost of anything that I do, and I'm getting nowhere near
Welcome to the
what I'm paying for.
If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you, Pale Morning Dude, resubscribing over on Kick. Been subscribed now for 5 months. One of the OGs. And then Gluten Doodle during the, this is just a few minutes ago. Gluten Doodle gifted a sub to Trust Plansar. And during the pre-show, he also gifted a sub to Patchy the Kid. And then also Augustine renewed his subscription as well. Thank you to all of you guys for supporting the show and contributing to the King Pill Baby Fund. Yes, let him know. Medical debt has some protections too in terms of credit damage. Right. I haven't had personal experience with this, but I've heard this from a number of different people that that medical debt is some of the debt that is the easiest to negotiate down. I've heard the opposite, but I've also heard from a number of people who have experience with it that I trust that it's one of those that can be negotiated down relatively on a relative basis. It can be negotiated down. So it's just, you just do whatever you can to not incur healthcare costs. That's what we're reduced to. We got these boomers who are like, oh no, we're not going to have subsidized health insurance. Meanwhile, the perspective of the younger generations is, I just really hope that I don't ever have to enter the medical system for any reason. I'm going to do whatever I can to prevent myself from being entered into the medical system, because once I do, then it's basically just going to be a massive thing that I live with for the rest of my life. I'm going to have a second mortgage for the rest of my life, essentially. So Cooper and I were talking about this, and this was not a mentality that I don't even know if Amy fully. I know that Amy's not as far as I am on this point yet. And it's been a few years of this being something like she's been very unsettled by not having health insurance. But I've been like, there's no health insurance that we can even remotely afford that's going to provide anything of benefit to us. And Cooper has had a very similar conversation with his wife, where you have there's that feeling of like, no, you have to if you don't have the health insurance, there's this like risk exposure. That risk has to be eliminated. This is what women do. Women are the risk meters. They're the ones sending out their radar looking for risk, and their job is to point the man at it. Look, risky thing. And then it's the man's job to evaluate that risky thing. How do we respond to this? Is this the most important risk right now? And so Cooper and I have both been like, no, there's just no reason to pay for health insurance. It is not a worthy expense. You're not actually diminishing really any risk except for the catastrophic risk. Here's an example. This chick here on Twitter says, "Will never forget my friend confiding in me that her family of 4 was having extreme money issues and had gone months late on their mortgage, down to only one operational car, roof needing urgent repairs." Family of 4. So presumably husband, wife, 2 kids. She says down here, 4 healthy people between the ages of 6 and 40. So these are millennials, probably millennials with young children, and they have one operational car. That's okay. So you've got a mom with a 6-year-old is her youngest. She's got someone who's older than 6. So a mom with the kids that presumably need to go places, and then you've got the dad who presumably needs to go to work. They've only got one operational car, which is probably costing them extra in having to navigate around it, and it's cutting down his ability to work, et cetera, et cetera. They're late on their mortgage by months, and their roof needs urgent repairs. 2 major housing issues there. I asked how much they paid for health insurance. She said $33,000 a year. $33,000 a year. This is the current state of the health insurance market. This isn't like, I'm sure they probably have a solid plan, but this isn't like a platinum tier. This is like good, solid, standard, middle-of-the-road health insurance for a family of 4. That's what we're paying in rent a year. When I graduated high school, I would have been excited if I would have had a $33,000 a year salary. They're paying $33,000 a year for health insurance. For 4 healthy people between the ages of 6 and 40 who rarely saw a doctor. So this isn't someone with like major pre-existing conditions. This isn't someone with diabetes or like a sick child or anything like that. Nope, just 4 healthy people, prime of their lives, don't go see a doctor at all. $33,000 a year. I suggested she cancel the health insurance for 6 to 12 months to get their vehicle issues sorted and catch up on the mortgage. She got so offended, looked at me like I had just slapped her child, and said, "And have no health insurance? God, no." People have been so brainwashed over health insurance. People are obsessed with health insurance. So I really don't want to beat up on the boomers too much, because I know there are boomers who listen, and I know that each individual boomer is not personally responsible for this. But we're getting hit on the front and the back by the legacy of the boomer generation with respect to health insurance. It has been thoroughly and completely destroyed and made financially crippling, while also they've passed on to us this mentality that you have to pay for it anyways. This is this dual legacy that this generation has passed on. So people are being bankrupted by paying for this thing that they have been thoroughly brainwashed and conditioned with good intentions. It wasn't like the boomers did this malevolently. It wasn't like they had a big council of the boomers and said, "Hey, how can we fuck over the next generations?" But it's had that effect. We've been made slaves to this system. We're like psychologically bound to this system. Stockholm syndrome. We're going to charge you $33,000 a year for insurance, and then we're going to brainwash you, beat you down into such fear at leaving the system that you'll just convince yourself you need it. In fact, you will fight someone who tries to take it away from you. There is a very small class of people extant in the world today who can afford health insurance, for whom it is a good financial decision. And that class of people, it just so happens that they're also the ones who could most afford to live without it no matter what. Because they're the ones who are going to be, if not cash rich, at least asset rich, and they're very likely to have good credit. So they're the ones who could navigate a catastrophic situation the best, and it's cheaper to cash pay basically everything. Yeah, Hun Pritchard, when do they even have $33,000 per year in medical costs? Like, when you frame it that way, the math is so obvious. Are you expecting to pay $33,000 this year in medical costs, total medical costs? What would have to happen this year to force you to pay $33,000 a year just for medical costs? And any of those things that could happen could conceivably be through there's a bazillion different ways you could do this, but through some method, that $33,000 could be deferred into future years. You know what can't be deferred into future years? The money you pay into health insurance. Paying for health insurance is not responsible, it's irresponsible. For the overwhelming majority of people. Like every rule, there's an exception. There are exceptions. There are specific people, specific families, for whom it's probably better to have it. But by definition, they are the exception. They are the exception that proves the rule. Some other tips in the thread here. While we're on the topic, stop using the emergency room at the hospital. Start using urgent care clinics. They can stitch you up, set your bones, give antibiotic injections, x-ray you, ultrasound you, check concussions, administer fever reducer in babies, etc., all for a fraction of what a hospital ER charges. Save the trips to the hospital for actual matters of life and death. Why is this? Why is it that urgent care is so much cheaper than the ER? Well, there's a really deep, long discussion about that goes back to Reagan, really, and EMTALA. But the biggest reason for this is that the ER has become the access point for illegal immigrants to get free health care. So they just bum rush the ER any opportunity that they get. Some guy's drunk in the ditch, he's going to get taken to the ER. Some guy gets shot, he's going to go to the ER. The underclasses, particularly the illegal immigrants, have made it so that the ERs are basically completely untenable for. If you have to go to going to the ER is obviously there are worse things that could happen in our life financially than having to go to the ER, but there's not a lot. You're getting reduced down to a pretty small category of things. And I'm not going to start listing things off because my wife will have a stroke downstairs by me jinxing something. But the ERs have basically been broken. You know what they've been turned into? They've been turned into the experience at the ER that I had when I was in Canada. This stood out to me in 2005. I had to go to the ER in Canada, and it stood out to me how bad the experience was, how long I had to wait, how rude everyone was. I told the story about when I was getting my hand stitched up, and the ER doctor was mad because he got called away from dinner to come in and stitch me up. This is after I've been sitting there for 4 hours, just waiting. Got to keep my arm elevated the whole time because I've got a gigantic gash on my finger and a tendon severed and everything's. I needed 50 plus total stitches. I needed tendon stitched up. I'm just sitting there with my hand elevated, trying to stay awake for 4 hours at least. Finally get in. He comes in, all grouchy, snippy, grabs the syringe, turns around, holds it up, and does the whole squirting the anesthetic out, and then just pulls my hand over and just starts jamming the needle into it, just shoving it all over in there. That hurt almost as bad as the spot where he missed and did probably 2 or 3 stitches with no anesthetic. That was my experience with the ER in Canada 20 years ago. And that stood out. Wow. Canadian medicine is, you do not want to have to get involved with the Canadian medical system. Now, 20 years later, if I told you that story today about an American ER, you would totally believe it. And you would also probably assume that that ER doctor maybe didn't even speak English. This has to change. Yeah, now they just tell you to off yourself. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Since then, in 20 years, our medical system is basically like Canada's was, and Canada is now has descended to the point where seek Canadian healthcare is the way that you opt out of a debate with someone that you're tired of. There's a little bit more in this thread here. I love giving a successful tip and all you get are whiners and naysayers. Enjoy your hospital bills. I really don't care. People will argue about anything. Almost a 300% increase in insurance premiums since 2000. Okay, so since 2000, 25 years ago, how many If you were not an adult in 2000, you are, what would it have to be? 2007. So people who were born in 2000, as late as 2007, are now adults, are now conceivably, potentially having to deal with their own healthcare. Now, with the, there is the age 26 thing where you're still in your parents, all that, but then, you know, those parents are getting younger and younger and younger and closer to this point as well. So there is no conceivable way that this changes through some sort of natural evolution right now. It's going to have to be dramatically changed. My insurance used to be like $130 a month until Obamacare. And all God's people said, "Thanks, Obama. If you like your insurance, you can keep your insurance." All right. Let's have some fun now. You guys want to have some fun? That was kind of a bummer story, wasn't it? Well, let's see what you guys think of this one. First of all, before we get into the main course, still crazy that a trailer from over 15 years ago has more love and respect for an IP than 2 seasons of a $200 million show made for Paramount did. Oh, man, I remember when this came out. Man, my boys in college, we were chimping. Absolutely chimping. I've never been a huge gamer. I had an N64 when I was younger that my parents got me. My dad and I used to play. We played DK64. I had the green one. It was like green, transparent with the yellow controller. Played DK64 a lot. Played Jet Force Gemini. Played, I think it was called Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I don't know how many hours I spent driving the little, the snow cruiser. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but the little snow cruiser. And you had to go around the AT-AT, had to wrap up its legs and try to bring it down. So many hours on that. And I'd crash into one of the legs, or I'd crash into the wall, so many hours. That was, Jet Force Gemini opening theme is a core memory unlock. Big time. But then I went to a boarding academy that was not a we had to turn in all of the music that we owned, and we're not allowed to have headphones. The music had to be listened to and accepted by the dean. This is back with cassette. Holy crap! I had to turn in cassette tapes to the deans. There was some CDs, some cassettes. Deans had to listen to them and sign off on them, and you'd get the little stamp of approval, and then you could keep those. Otherwise, you had to just turn your music in to the dean, and they would keep it until you left and went home. This was, and we're not allowed to have headphones anywhere on campus. That was the high school I went to. There was no video games. I was not playing video games whatsoever. But then once I got to college, I had some roommates who were big gamers. And so it was right between Halo 2 and Halo 3. So I wound up playing an extraordinary amount of Halo 3. A little bit of Halo 2, a little bit of Halo 1, tons and tons of Halo 3. And then I think it was Black Ops 2 that I also later on in college, I played a lot of Black Ops 2. And then also played like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. And mostly what I would enjoy is some of the other guys, like our room was the big hangout room. And all the guys in the dorm would come hang out there to play video games. We had like a bunk beds built in up above. So we could just sit up there while everyone was crowded in below us. You'd like order Taco Bell or just have like ramen parties. And our room was just the hangout. So I would like to just sit and watch people play. But Halo and Call of Duty were the two that I just love me a good first-person shooter. I just want to just play matchmaking. I just want to play matchmaking and just grind on it. Just go and go and go and go and go. The campaigns are fine, or sometimes I'll play campaigns. Don't really care much for a lot of the battle royale stuff. It's okay if I'm playing with a bunch of friends, but mostly just matchmaking. Let me kill some shit. So Halo 3 was just the soundtrack of my entire time in college. Now, they have announced Halo Campaign Evolved dropping in 2026. And we've got a trailer along with a video where they're talking about it a little bit more. And so we're going to watch Asmongold watching the trailer and the other video of them describing the project. So let me pull this out here a little bit so we can try to get everything on the screen. And I'm hoping, I don't know if I was to just play the trailer straight up, I don't know if it's going to get copyright claimed. And but I know that I've played Asmongold stuff before that hasn't gotten copyright claimed. And so I know I can play Asmongold stuff. And I'm sure they're not going to copyright claim Asmongold. So I'm hoping that playing Asmongold, playing the stuff will ensure that it doesn't get copyright claimed. All right, here we go. Make sure this is on. I watched this on most of this on 2.5x earlier, so make sure it's on normal. Here we go.
All right. Let's watch the trailer and we'll see what it is. This is Silent Cartographer. It's like the third mission in the game. Damn! The campaign evolved.
Halo Campaign Evolved is the next project coming out of Halo Studios. It is the ultimate Halo CE campaign remake. It is coming to Xbox, PC, and for the first time, PlayStation. It'll be arriving next year. To talk more about it, we've got Dan.
There it is. I fucking knew it. I told y'all this shit was going to happen. Yes, it is coming to PlayStation. That is huge. This is such a huge W.
Max and Greg from the development.
Now, it's funny because there's a lot of people who have really, really strong feelings about this, and I could not possibly care less. Don't care in the slightest. I've virtually never played anything PlayStation. Just haven't. Just always been an Xbox guy. And it was mostly just because that was what a Xbox controller was the first thing I learned the double joystick on. And it was very, very weird going from the Nintendo 64 controller with the single joystick to the 2 joysticks, and I remember starting it and being like, how does anybody do this? I'm never ever going to be able to master this, to get my brain wrapped around this. So I learned that on the Xbox controller, and have always just played Xbox. That's just always been my thing. I don't care. I don't dislike PlayStation. I just have never used it, never played it. And I know there's all sorts of people who all have all their reasons about why I don't care. I don't care. I just want to play. I just want to play Halo. Can I just play Halo? Like, honestly, I would be over the moon if they just took the existing the Halo Infinite thing and upgraded their back end and like, I don't know, reintroduced ranked play or something like that. Like, that would be more than enough for me. I would be perfectly happy with just that. As it is right now, there's you can go play on Steam or through Microsoft. You can go play Halo matchmaking on all the time. I've never had to sit and wait for a match to load any longer than I normally would. It's always there. Now, if you get down into some of the more the more niche game types, then it doesn't. But then sometimes you might not ever get one to load. But yeah, ranked Halo matchmaking. Please, just give me that. Just give me ranked Halo matchmaking on Halo 3. And I will never need another game in my life.
And team, guys, let's get into this. Why is this the right game for right now?
We did this work on Halo Anniversary. I felt like there were certain things that were left unsaid. There were certain things that we weren't able to achieve at that time. There were certain things we weren't able to do.
It's a great time to revisit Combat Evolved for new players, for established Halo players, and maybe even for old friends playing on different hardware today, to allow them to play together and enjoy the franchise together again.
Yeah. Going back to the Halo ring again for the first time.
For the first time is really important, and for them to be surprised by new.
Yeah, Master Chief Collection is what I play. It just doesn't really have any support, and there's no ranked play with it. There's supposedly there's a lobby you can go into, but there's nobody in there, and a lot of it is because there's sometimes like server issues with it, and you can tell that it's not a priority. It's not being maintained really. It's just there. Give me some actual ranked play. That would be. Ranked SWAT. Oh, yes. Superior B, you're my man.
Content and feel like excited again about exploring the ring world.
For new players, this is the right time for you to jump in. Think of this as your introduction into this huge franchise we've been building for the past 25 years.
I'm curious how you're going to focus on capturing the essence of the original, knowing that you need to evolve to kind of move the experience forward.
Isn't it crazy, like, by the way, the fact that this shit, keep in mind, this came out 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think people recognize, like, how fucking next generation this was at the time.
Yeah, from design, we don't take that lightly at all. Whenever we make a change, the number one thing was to be true to the original game.
For every one of those topics that comes up, there's someone who is incredibly passionate.
This is one of those that where, kind of reminds me of when they make a movie from a book, and you always have broadly 2 categories of people. The people who just like the movie for what it is and recognize there's differences from the book or whatever, but they just like the movie for what it is. And the people who can never, who don't even want to sanction the thought of creating a movie from the book in the first place, that it's like diluting the art or something like that. And then they are just relentlessly critical of it was different this way and it was different than this. And I've never been able to, I don't have a theory of mind for those people. I give me a movie. A movie? Cool. I'll watch it. If the movie sucks, then yeah, the movie sucked. If the movie was good, then the movie was good. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be super true to the original, because it's not really possible. It's a different medium. You don't want to be like if you have like huge diversions from the original, then I'm going to judge you on the basis of those diversions. Did they work well for the story? Did it make a compelling movie? Did the narrative work out? Was it did it fit in with the rest of the story? I don't need you to be absolutely wholly and completely faithful to the book, because it's not even possible. You're just dealing in gradations here. You might get close to it, and some might be closer than others, but you can't take book content and translate it directly to the screen. It's literally not possible whatsoever. honestly, if you took a book and you were to like transcribe a book and feed it into an LLM and have it produce you a movie that was exactly blow by blow faithful to the book, the movie would be really, really long and it would suck. It would be terrible. There's some stuff that can only be communicated through text. We just receive the information differently.
On the other side saying we can, like, that is sacred. We do not move that crate.
It's really about looking across, what we've learned over the years, what technology we've built, and how we can tie that back into this experience.
So in this game, up to 4 people can play the campaign together, regardless of which platform they're on. And then we're kicking it old school. We can play 2-player co-op on consoles, on the couch together, just like we did back in the original.
Actually, W. Great decision. That's what they should have done. I remember one of the games didn't release with that. Was a huge mistake. They learned their lesson. This is good.
What do you have to do differently to account now for 4 people running around?
For different co-op counts, we will make some of the spaces larger. We also want to make sure we're authentic to the encounters themselves. So it's a balancing act between that difficulty tuning and making those.
Slendemoke says everyone hated the library in CE. Never understood why. It's one of my favorite levels. Just shotgunning Endless Flood was so satisfying. Yes, same here. Same here. Anytime, that's always been my, I'm better at that sort of gameplay. The just kind of, not spray and pray, because there's a little strategy to it, but the Berserker, going kind of Berserker mode and running in and just blasting away with the shotgun, really close combat. That's always been more my, I've always liked that.
Encounters the right size for the right space.
I understand that we've done some special tune-up works to the beloved Warthog.
Let's see it. There's a new seat, what I like to call the golf cart seat or the bumper seat.
Now this is cool. I think this is great. Add another seat to the Warthog. You can have another person ride on the Warthog. Cool. Down with that. Is it different than the original? Sure, of course it is, obviously. But I think it's a cool different.
This is on the back of the Warthog, so now you can bring everyone with.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite aspects of the Halo franchise. What is a skull? What's cool about it? What does it do?
A skull is a gameplay modifier. Generally mean-spirited. It makes the game more challenging for the player.
The combination, the pairing.
Wasn't it crazy how back in the day, nobody even really knew what the skulls were? And then you just had people on like random online forums and you would hear about it from your friend that like told you like that, like, oh, underneath this one thing, like really that was like, whenever you think back on that, like that was so cool, bro. Like that was so badass.
These different skulls and how that's going to create that new gameplay experience. Huge amount of replay options for folks.
I love the replayability that skulls bring to a campaign. It just is almost endless variety.
We have dozens of skulls this time.
The most that we've ever had in a Halo game.
Are you a lasso guy? I think you yourself told me that you don't think anyone would ever be able to complete this game with legendary all skulls on.
I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot. And so if you can do a true legendary all skulls on run, let us know.
Oh. Yeah, I basically never played through on legendary. There's sometimes when I did with my with buddies. I think what was below legendary? Was it heroic? Is that what it was? Was that 2 below legendary? I was never a legendary guy. There's no possible way I would ever be able to do the legendary all skulls on. I probably wouldn't have the patience for it. And now being a dad, there's no way. I mean, I guess I could turn into a gaming streamer and just stream myself going and finding all of them. And it would probably take me, if I played every single day for, I don't know, 6 months maybe, then I might be able to get to the point where I could actually make it through on legendary and then try to do the all skulls thing. But that would, I'd be pretty surprised.
Because I'd love to see it.
Well, didn't that one guy do it? Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, that'd be really hard.
If there's one thing that this community has shown us is do not underestimate them, and they will find a way.
But that was Halo 2, to be fair.
Halo's always been known for its sandbox. How has this evolved?
We made sure that anything we included isn't going to drastically change the way the game plays, to change the sandbox in a drastic way, but there's some really fun kind of additions, and that's across, enemies, weapons, vehicles.
Patchy says, Matt, when you win, you can be a gamer streamer and Pete Key will do hockey podcasts. One day. Hell yeah. That's right. That's how we'll know that we've won. When I become a gaming streamer and Pete starts doing hockey podcasts.
Things that
I would also do I would love to do a daily fantasy podcast. I almost did that at one point. I was pretty close to starting that, and the thing that was hardest for me was figuring out how to blend my sports profile and my non-sports profile, because I had a little bit of a profile in the sports world before, and there are people who would know who I was. I was into the NFL blogging world kind of, and there are prominent NFL personalities that you guys, if you follow sports at all, you would know, who I was on a first name basis, knew in person. So if I was to start getting any sort of prominence building a show in that world, everyone kind of knows everyone in that world. And I'd have to figure out how to, that was the thing that kept me from doing it. But I could totally geek out on, doing advanced statistics with either baseball or football, and then doing a fantasy analysis thing for football. That would be my, if I'd taken a different route in life, I might have wound up doing that.
Original CE you weren't able to do before that you now can. You finally killed the elite with the sword. That weapon hits the floor and you can pick that up and just, kind of really
that is badass.
Take the enemy.
Yo, I remember whenever you would play that shit on Legendary and the gold elite would come through the door. And it was oh my God. Oh, it's over, bro. It's over. We're cooked.
Sound design.
Yeah. Oh no.
All these weapons, by the way, have been painstakingly remodeled, rebuilt, higher fidelity. How do all these things kind of come to life?
That comes across through the way they look, the way they sound, the effects, the
Someone said on Twitter that
the way they look, the way they sound.
That the needles look like Takis. They're pink.
The effects, the actual panels on the weapons.
I think this looks good. I mean, it looks fine. I mean, it doesn't look insanely it's a remake, right? So it's
the hunters look badass.
The effects, the actual panels on the weapons.
I think this looks good. I mean, it looks fine. I mean, it doesn't look insanely it's a remake, right? So it's probably not supposed to be super high def, but this looks fine.
Cells, the ammo counters.
With Unreal, the fully dynamic lighting within Lumen allows us to get those effects, right? That rich plasma lighting up and brightening the environment.
Yeah, this is good.
Of course, one of the hallmark elements of Halo CE is what becomes kind of a three-way battle with the introduction of the Flood.
There was quite a bit of development between Halo CE and 3 to kind of how the Flood behaved. And
the thing I hated about the Flood was the little guys. Because you'd be focused on all the big guys, and then the little guys would start. You're just why are my shields going down? And you realize you got these little guys running around your feet. Yeah, the popcorn chicken.
And just how they interacted with the player. So we've pulled a lot of those.
I remember that shit was really cool because nobody even knew what, if I remember right, the introduction of the Flood was not even shown anywhere in the promotional materials of Halo 1. And so nobody even knew this shit was going to happen in the game at all.
I never got that experience because I started with Halo 3. I played the Halo 3 campaign and then went back and played. I never finished 1 or 2, but I played parts of both of them. So I never got that first experience.
And then it's just had that vibe shift and what was it, the library? I think that was the map.
Flood behaviors into this game.
And I would say this is a learning specifically from CE to Anniversary.
Oh yeah, Borp, we're old. This is now an old man stream. This is it happened so quickly, but suddenly we're talking about something that happened 20 plus years ago.
Just kind of that mood, the atmosphere, the tension, the horror, and really delivering on that from the way that we stage the encounters and the setup and how we reveal the Flood.
In Halo Legacy, there were some pure form units. We've pulled in a familiar friend, familiar fiend, if you will, to challenge the player.
The big boy.
Well, that was an interesting team.
Talk to me just a little bit about how we're approaching the narrative aspects to bring it up to the same level as the rest of this game.
We want to tell an authentic story, and we want to level up the cinematics from the source.
Good.
As we were building this out, we didn't just kind of put a new coat of paint over the original cinematics, right? We ended up revisiting exactly how they were blocked out, how they were sequenced, how they were put together, and we've done that across the board.
We have access to original source assets, original source code, and access to the original storyboards. We are remastering, remixing the music to go along with these cinematics.
We also had the core principal cast come in and
I hope that they can do that in the right way, because like some of those cinematics and everything, it was just like, it was so good. And I just like, I'm worried about that, right? Because it's just like, oh man.
All the lines.
I hope
How
it's
much
good.
firepower would you need to crack one of the engine shields?
This really provides a degree of
How did I miss that the first time around?
all the lines.
I hope
How
it's
much
good.
firepower would you need to crack one of the engine shields?
This really provides a degree of fidelity that we weren't able to do for Halo Anniversary.
Now would be a very good time to leave.
I'm super excited that this game will include 3 brand new bonus missions. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was really important that we preserve the original story as it is. So these missions specifically are meant to be a prequel, a setup for, the main course. These new missions are going to offer some new opportunities for character interactions, maybe between, Chief and Johnson.
We've got some new mechanics, maybe some new AI behaviors, things that haven't been done before in Halo CE.
I think we're just getting started.
Oh, man.
In Halo CE.
I think we're just getting started.
Oh, there's a drop. There's a drop. What's my, I got to get that from the original because I'm watching oh, man. I think we're just getting started. Steve Downs. Oh, come on. Hang on. Hang on. It says reconnecting. Please reconnect. Please reconnect. Let's go. Let's go. Reconnect. 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 Okay, are we back? Come on. It actually went through this time. Oh, and of course now, kick is down. Great. Are we back? Okay, good. Good. Comments are coming through. Oh, good grief. Good freaking grief. I was hoping it was going to reconnect, and I just sat here. I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. I was just sitting here talking to it, just begging it, chanting, reconnect, reconnect, please, please reconnect. Because since it did not reconnect, it means now I'm going to have 2 different video files. I'm going to have to edit them together and export the whole thing, and it's a whole big rigmarole. Oh, but I think we're back. Now I can't get Kick to load at all. It's crashing out. Site can't be reached. DNS address cannot be found. Diagnosing the problem. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that you're diagnosing the problem. It's a big help. So I don't know. It's apparently some sort of an internet issue here. Still got. I mean, I'm still like I can load Twitter. I can stream the video. Everything's working fine. But the soundboard is not loading. So we may just have to go the rest of the way without the soundboard. We'll see if this is even going to keep working. But Hail Victor says we were going to be big tippers tonight too. Oh well. Well, it's back now. Put your money where your mouth is. Okay, let's see if we can keep this going. So I'm going to back this up just a little bit because we got a great potential soundboard drop here that I added. I was in the middle of doing that. I'd paused it and I was making a note to myself to add this for a soundboard, and then nobody was saying anything in the chat, and I thought that was kind of odd. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of Fs came through. So that's when I realized that something had happened. Yeah, Kick just will not load at all. So yeah, I'll just have to watch your comments coming through on the through Streamlabs. So if there are, I don't know for sure if somebody if you reply to each other, I'm not going to see it. It doesn't come through. So if your message that you send in Kick is a reply to someone, I will not be able to see that in case you want me to. And also, if somebody subscribes or gifts subs, I may not see that. So you guys will have to let me know so I can shout them out until. Oh, wait, hold on. Is it happening? Oh well, we'll see if Kick loads up again. But let's keep this going.
All the lines.
I hope
How
it's
much
good.
firepower would you need to crack one of the engine shields?
This really
I got
provides
so
a
excited
degree
when
of
I saw
fidelity
Steve.
that we weren't able to do for
Yeah.
Halo Anniversary.
Now would be a very good time to leave.
I'm super excited that this game will include 3 brand new bonus missions. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was really important that we preserve the original story as it is. So these missions specifically are meant to be a prequel, a setup for, the main course. These new missions are going to offer some new opportunities for character interactions, maybe between, Chief and Johnson.
We've got some new mechanics, maybe some new AI behaviors, things that haven't been done before in Halo CE.
I think we're just getting started.
That was it right there.
Been done before
That's going on the soundboard.
in Halo CE.
I think we're just getting started.
Behaviors, things that haven't been done before in Halo CE.
I think we're just getting started.
The voice of my childhood.
So where are we right now at this stage in development? What can you share with us?
In the past few weeks, we've been able to start engaging and sending builds out to some of our community members.
We can now see so many of the elements of the level really coming together.
There's a point in every game's life cycle where it kind of just comes online.
Seeing really high fidelity versions of cinematics, elements of the sandbox and encounter tweaks and the lighting.
You go to someone's desk and give feedback live on an experience, and to me that's like a really exciting
That
time.
looks badass.
The ultimate love letter.
Feedback live on an experience.
What is that? It looks like is that the neck of an elite? Is there something in the campaign that I'm forgetting about? What is that? A hunter?
And to me that's like a really exciting
That looks
time.
badass.
The ultimate love letter to the game that started it all. I would call upon our entire Halo community to welcome with open arms this next generation of players. I'm excited to just relive these experiences again for the first time.
Man. So they're remaking the entire campaign. Holy shit. Yeah, so excited. I mean, that's awesome. Like, I'm happy. I mean, I wonder if it's going to be any good, right? I'm not sure. I hope there's no sprinting, though. I don't really have an opinion about it. Let me see what this one is. This
same
is
here.
the trailer.
Could not care less about sprinting. I enjoy sprinting in Call of Duty, and I didn't play. Was it Halo? Was it Halo 4 that they introduced sprinting? I don't remember exactly when it was. I didn't play much after Halo 3, just kind of a little bit, but I was on my way out of college by that point. Yeah, sprinting, reach, okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I think sprinting is whatever. I'm fine without it. I'm fine with it. Doesn't matter to me.
That they just put out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it has sprinting. I think it's already been leaked that there will be sprinting in this.
According to the data in their networks, the ring has some kind of deep religious significance. They call it Halo. They believe that Halo is some kind of weapon,
What sort of weapon is it?
one with unimaginable power.
I really kind of forgot how cool this was. I did. I forgot. I
Gotta find the cartographer. We'll keep him busy as long as we can.
Fire
Isaac says sprinting through the CE campaign completely ruins the pacing. Well, I guess it depends on how much they change to the if it's a like. My guess is that it's not going to be like a pixel for pixel remake. So maybe they change the pacing of the campaign to accommodate for the fact that there's sprinting in it. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Team Charlie, we're on our way.
Touchdown! Hit it, Marines!
Boop.
Yeah.
Somebody go to a warthog.
Man. Do you remember trying to drive the Warthog inside of the building? Did y'all ever try and do that? That's exactly what I did.
The Covenant are putting up a real fight. The cartographer must be here.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, rock and roll.
It was worth it. It was.
Give them hell, Chief.
Oh yeah, Asmund Gold's bricked up. Yeah, he is.
Man. I think I'm not updating quality. Wait just a second. Not updating quality of life and expanding controls in Oblivion was a real detriment. I think sprinting would be good here, a real remaster. Okay, so this is like the whole actual thing. Let me see it.
The Covenant believe that what they call the Silent Cartographer is somewhere under this island. The Cartographer is a map room that will lead us to Halo's control center.
I don't mind sprinting. I don't have an opinion on it. If you want me to be honest, like I don't strongly feel one way or another. It's just not, it just doesn't matter a lot to me.
See, I knew I liked Asmund Gold. Just such a smart, clever fellow.
New project and it's in 2 minutes? I said 2 minutes. Well, it's got to just be this, right? It has to just be this. Wait, it's going to be different? If it's any different than what we already watched? Yeah, I feel like it's going to be the same thing. Like, I mean, there's no way they're going to announce two things like this at the same time. I'll say this looks good.
Is it just me? I didn't play that much Halo 1, but is it just me or does the reload speed seem to be faster? At least on the assault rifle.
Definitely looks good. Look at this. It's solid, yeah. It's like, what is this here? It was leaked a bit ago. It's a new Halo game. Bullshit. Bullshit. You're so full of shit. There's no way. There's no way. No way. No way. I think you're lying. Smell me use the bathroom. Yeah, no. He lying.
We actually introduced a brand new name, of course, for the studio. So that leaves me with the big question: is Sketch, what's on deck for this year?
Well, we thought we changed our name again.
Wife told me I need to make sure my phone is plugged in, and it is not, and it's at 56%. So I'm gonna go plug it in real quick and let this play.
No, just kidding.
All right.
Honestly, Lottie, it's been
Where's
a
the
really
announcement?
busy and exciting year at Halo Studios. The team's just been
Did I miss it?
laser focused, working on the next chapter for the franchise.
Nope.
As you mentioned, kind of last year, we took a look at what Halo could look like in Unreal 5, and over the past year, we've been busy playing Halo in Unreal
Relax.
5.
Calm
So
down.
it's just been a really exciting time
Calm down.
for the studio. We're on the eve now of 25 years. The anniversary is next year. Really since the beginning of it all. With, the release of,
bro,
Combat
25
Evolved. So
years.
Really big, momentous moment, and super exciting.
Has it
time
really
as
been
we
that
look
long?
ahead to what's going to be the next chapter for Halo.
I mean, so many incredible memories. I mean, Max, you must have tons of memories that
Jesus.
being in the franchise. And,
There's no way
obviously
that's true, right? It's
Halo,
gotta be a
just
lie.
nostalgic, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, 25 years. It's incredible, right? So thinking back to the Combat Evolved experience.
Yeah,
and
you
being
probably
on
had
the
hair
ring
back
for
then,
the
right?
First time as Chief, just driving that Warthog to the beach, playing co-op on the couch with a friend, getting through the legendary campaign. There's just so many great memories.
Yeah, and I remember buying my first Xbox back in 2001 and playing the game with my buddies on the couch. And then personally, I would just stop and look at the game and what they were doing in Halo. I just never
Look
seen
out into the
before. It's
background.
incredible.
Yeah.
Honestly, I got a massive role as the coolest big sister because it's how I literally spent time with my brother. We split.
Okay, I'm gonna move on from this here now real quick. We got a tip from Saxon Hale.
The white man is back, baby. The white man is back.
Of course. Of course. Zalaba is back, baby. Zalaba is back. There's my Daniel. Okay. So this happened today. Binance founder CZ, this guy, I don't know anything about this story. I know that supposedly the guy's like some kind of scammer or something, and Trump just pardoned him or commuted his sentence or something like that. And he said that Trump might be Satoshi Nakamoto. And holy crap, I love this timeline. I love living in a world where we see a headline that says Binance founder CZ says Trump might be Satoshi Nakamoto. So I had to make it. It's Dontoshi. Dontoshi Trumpamoto. Oh, that's great. What a great time to live. And then here's something I didn't expect to encounter, but you know I love me a good schizo theory. I love my schizos. This is a good one.
America, Donald Trump's big, beautiful ballroom. So as you know,
His big, beautiful what? My president's big, beautiful ballroom.
Fucks in the Democrat Party have been talking shit about Donald Trump starting construction on the new ballroom. It's the people's house. What can we do? Even though there's been multiple construction projects at the White House for many years in the past. But I want to show you some images of this beautiful ballroom that's being built, and then I want to talk to you about something secret you probably don't know, but I think is awesome. So here's the White House complex. And the area right here is all that they've demolished. So Democrats are out of their fucking mind and have no clue what they're talking about. How stupid. So here's an image of what the ballroom inside is.
That'd be a good drop. How stupid.
Talking about. How stupid. So here's an image of what the ballroom inside is going to look like. Absolute master class. Take a look at that. Almost like Versailles. Here's another image showing the seating and the chandeliers and the large windows that'll be open to give it a very open feel. Here's another image of those open window concepts that are going to be done. This is fantastic.
I just want to listen to this guy evaluate architecture. Just create a channel just evaluating, I don't know, real estate. Do like real estate walkthroughs.
By the way, not a single dollar of taxpayer money being used for this. Now, of course, this is a diagram of the White House itself. And then here's the East Wing. And it's going to be taken out and replaced like this. So one thing I want to talk about is the original design of...
What the hell was that?
Replaced like this.
Oh, him holding his laptop. I thought it was him holding a tire at first.
So one thing I want to talk about is the original design of Washington, D.C. As you know, this was built as a Freemason city.
Hell yeah,
and
let's
there's
go.
a lot of sacred geometry in Washington,
Give it to me, baby.
You get an overlay of this with Freemason symbols and the star, which of course looks on the surface like a satanically built city because of the geometry of this place.
Satanically.
Now, if you didn't know, Donald Trump is building an archway and adding to the ballroom. So this sacred geometry that's been set up in...
I feel like he's added syllables to the word geometry. Geometry. I guess he hasn't. I've never heard somebody say geometry so long.
To the ballroom. So this sacred geometry that's been set up in Washington, D.C. is about to be considered asymmetrical now, and it's going to fuck it up. So this, quote, sacred Mason geometry...
It's going to fuck it up.
Now, and it's going to fuck it up. So this...
Oh, you said that with his chest.
Quote, sacred Mason geometry that's been a part of Washington, D.C. for 250 years is about to be knocked out of whack and out of alignment because of Donald Trump's plans of what he's building. Most people haven't talked about that. I'm gonna talk about it. I just did. And whether Donald Trump knows it.
Most people haven't talked about that. I'm gonna talk about it. I just did. This guy's a patriot.
Or not, this is absolutely fantastic. It's almost like Donald Trump's building plans are a physical thorn in the side to what Washington, D.C. was all about. This is absolutely fantastic news. I love this. I want to see Trump build more shit. Hey, what's up, America?
I could turn almost that entire thing into soundboard drops.
Fantastic news. I love this. I want to see Trump build more shit. Hey,
I too want to see Trump build more shit. My president is always ahead of the globalists. They can't keep up with him. Every single move he makes, they're screwed.
The white man is back, baby. The white man is back.
No, I can't read this one. No, Daniel, come on. Come on. Please, Daniel. Please. Okay, I'll do it. You rang? They demons! They're in the walls! Ants in my skin! Eerie! I'm literally Santa. Santa? Satan? Sacred geometry. Symmetry is for Santa. Ho, ho, ho. What a night. It is Friday night, indeed. While you guys are letting that sink in, we got more Will Stancil content.
Hey, do we like that, Mr. Stancil? They say it ain't, but it is Mr. Stancil. Tell him that's facts, nigga, Mr. Stancil. Yeah, do we like that, Mr. Stancil? It do we like that, Mr. Stancil? Scooby-Dooby-Doo with the crew, Mr. Stancil. Every single time it's the truth, Mr. Stancil. It do we like that, Mr. Stancil? They say don't pay, but it do. It do. Said it when it could have been still true. Still true. You're getting trapped in the level. Say it loud, nigga. Say it, do we like that? It do be true. Hey, Mr. Stancil, what you gonna do? Be love for AM, Mr. That's what you do, nigga. Do we love it, do kisses coming.
Incredible! Incredible! This is from Will Stancil for president. At Vote Will Stancil. Stancil of a down. It do be like that. It do be like that. You know, we're going to fuck around and we're going to meme Will Stancil into the White House because he is our guy. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. He replied to that and said, regretfully, this one's a banger. He's breaking character. It's happening. He is our guy. He can't help it. He's breaking his shell. We're getting little cracks. More and more. More and more. Look at this. The Spectator is helping bully Will Stancil. What timeline are we living in? This is a real screenshot. From The Spectator, the Will Stancil show is art. The AI-generated cartoon is better than anything Comedy Central or Adult Swim has produced in the last 20 years. Shout out to Charles Cornish Dale. What a name. Otherwise known as Raig Nationalist. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Remember, this is thespectator.com. Like, look. You can see. TheSpectator.com. It's actually there. This is the actual website. Headline, picture, first paragraph. If you know who Will Stancil is, it's probably as the first man to be raped by an AI large language model. Yes, you read that right. Oh, I can only imagine the poor boomer subscribed to The Spectator who opens it up and reads that. He got what? Mecha Hitler! The internet is becoming real life at an incredible rate. Our guys are dominating everything. We have journalists saying Will Stancil's getting raped by AI. Oh, I wish I had my soundboard right now. And speaking of the White House remodel that's happening, we got a GigaCon tweet here, and look at this. The White House has revamped its website to defend the destruction of the East Wing, and they've done it exactly the way you'd expect. These are screenshots from the White House website. First of all, you have, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger here. Can I pull this? No, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know why it's cutting it off like that. But you have the Bill Clinton scandal, the Muslim Brotherhood visit with Obama. First Lady Melania Trump oversaw the privately funded construction of a 1,200 square foot tennis pavilion on the South Lawn. You've got Hunter Biden's cocaine discovered, the Trans Day of Visibility, and there's a bunch more of these here. Let's go over to the actual website. Oh, come on. How is this possible? How is it possible that I'm actively streaming right now? And presumably, you guys are still there. I'm actively streaming, and yet a frickin' web page won't open. I can't load whitehouse.gov. Well, anyways, they made a major events timeline for the White House. And if you went over here to the left earlier, there was a bunch of is it down again? Someone posted an F in the chat. You better not be trolling me. All that shit you just showed on the screen just fucked it up. I'm good. I'm still here. Okay. Oh, good. Patchy, just gaslighting. Okay. So they put an event timeline of like different remodels and stuff, and as they came across the Bill Clinton, they had the Monica Lewinsky thing, they had the Muslim Brotherhood visit for Obama, they had cocaine discovered by Hunter Biden here, and this is on whitehouse.gov. This is on the White House website. So there's some context of the different events that have happened, and our trollish administration has struck once again. Here's some good news. Secretary Sean Duffy, I'm bringing together the greatest minds in architecture, engineering, and design to answer a simple question. How can America get back to making beautiful infrastructure that moves us all? More to come. Beautiful infrastructure that moves you. No lib will ever get this. No lib will ever understand this. But this, an approach like this, doing something like this, matters almost as much as anything else that the administration is up to, because of the spiritual effect on the soul of the people. to be surrounded by beauty, to see beautiful architecture, to participate in the building of beautiful architecture. It is good for the soul of the people. That was from Sean Duffy. That was from the Secretary of Transportation himself. This is from, he's quote tweeting this rapid response tweet from USDOT, which the link's not going to open. But exclusive, Trump admin establishing council to make bridges beautiful again. This is also the sort of thing that's like, these are long-term projects. This is not something that you're just gonna accomplish in a single administration. So this is an example of the administration thinking beyond itself. They have to track leading up to the midterms. They've got to track 2028. They got to manage all the things between now and then. But they're also laying the groundwork for projects that will continue into the future. Night Ozarka Pleb. Let's keep this going here because all of this has gotten some delays, and I've still got quite a bit to go through. So, there's the possibility that the wind is getting pretty loud out there. I can hear it. So there's a possibility that the stream may go down again, and if it does go down again, then maybe I'll just do a Saturday Labe to finish up the stuff that I don't get to. But here's a very important update. We got the first one through the breach, as Mr. Josh Ham said. Undersecretary of War Anthony Tata says, on Monday, MC Bashaw, this is Mark Charles Bashaw, emailed me about several last-mile issues in the COVID reinstatement process. We immediately convened U.S. Army leaders to address them. At this stage, any delays are unacceptable. We're committed to reinstating our impacted warriors ASAP. These are members of the military who were discharged or forced out of the military for whatever reason regarding the COVID vaccine. And he says, update, U.S. Army is engaging Kevin Bourne and MC Bashaw to help resolve last-mile concerns. Department of War efforts to solve problems aren't always public, but they are happening. We're making steady progress on the reinstatement process, other remedies, and task force creation. And then, today, well, actually, this was yesterday, Mark Brashaw says, update, thank you, sir. Full reinstatement granted, retroactively promoted to captain with a date of rank 13 December 2021 and no break in service. Orders are being issued for me to report for active duty on 1 November 2025 following an unlawful discharge, court-martial, banned from my place of duty for 413 days, threats of Leavenworth imprisonment, and numerous other reprisals for refusing to be experimented on with weaponized COVID-19 products, and for submitting protected communications through my chain of command. Glory to God. First one through the breach. Now we got one. There's going to be many more that follow. And think about the quality of man that is being reinstated into the military. And at just the right time. These are little things that may not catch lots of headlines. Most of your daily news shows, commentary shows, most of your average commentator is not necessarily going to pay attention to these sorts of details. That's why you listen to the ASTROLABE. The ASTROLABE will catch these, bring them to your attention, so you can add them to your mental timeline as you're tracking the behavior, the posture, the personality, the trajectory of the administration. Right, loyalists. Yeah, we get the based guys in. Not just the based guys, but the based guys who have what do they say, stood on business. The based guys who have stood on business, who have proven their worth and have experience and respect. And not only is he being reinstated, he's being retroactively promoted. This is all good stuff. This is tremendous. Massive. If I was not here alone in my room, because it would be very weird, but if I was not alone in my room, I would give him a round of applause. This is very worthy of it. And some other news. This is maybe a little bit less significant, but still significant in its own right.
Jesse always calls the left communists. They're communists. Explain that. Well, they are communists, and
Patriot.
We've been too hesitant to do that for so long. We try to act as if they're naive, or they just don't get it. We try to make every excuse in the world for them. Well, I guess they just don't understand. No, they do understand. We're the ones who have lacked understanding. They understand full well that they are at war from within with this country. They are fighting a communist revolution. It's not an accident they're doing it. It's not an accident they're going after kids. They decided long ago they couldn't use the workers because American workers were by and large happy and prosperous, so they had to find a different group of malcontents. And now it's every feminist in a Subaru, and it's all this LGBTQ stuff, and they go find all the miserable freaks in
Mr. Sue, hardest hit.
society, and they recruit them as an internal army to constantly attack us from within, and they are communists. And I fully admit there are so many Democrats today who don't have any idea that's actually what they are, because they're a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. But in the end, I mean, you go listen to any one of their speeches, you notice they're never, ever, ever actually selling a solution. They don't even really pretend. They're always selling revenge. Always. Elect me and I'll get them. Elect me and I'll get that guy. Elect me and I'll take what's his, because they're filthy communists, but they're losing, so screw them.
Announced today by Miss Megyn Kelly that Jesse's Great Radio Show will be heard on the Megyn Kelly channel on SiriusXM starting next month. Megyn Kelly has a huge audience, the Magamom audience. She is out there. She's out there moving the Magamoms, and now you're gonna get Jesse Kelly on that network. Boys, I am building a spectrum, and on this spectrum, at one end, you have Jesse Kelly, and at the other end, you have Curtis Yarvin. Both of them are selling the exact same message in their own way. They're communists. The Democrats are communists. There is no moderate left. There is no rational Democrats. The Democrat Party is a party of communists. Yarvin calls it the Mutt and Jeff routine. You have the radicals who align with the sort of mainstream, more normal ones. But no, there is one left. There is not two lefts. There is one left. They're all communists. So you have the same message here now coming from two different perspectives, speaking to two totally different audiences, but selling the exact same message. Our political opposition are united around revolutionary communism. This is not a legitimate political opposition. This is an insurgency. This is a political insurgency of traitors. They need to be treated appropriately. They need to be seen as such and treated as such. The big news here. This is the sort of thing that's going to reap dividends. Having Jesse Kelly being exposed to an even larger audience, and an audience that's a little bit more normie. Because Megyn Kelly she's moved quite a bit, but remember, Megyn Kelly was the moderator that read the question to Donald Trump that he answered with, except for Rosie O'Donnell. That's where she's come from. She's got a huge audience. She's been on SiriusXM for a while now, and she gets big numbers on YouTube. So having Jesse Kelly on her network, extending him out to an even larger audience of more sort of moderates, is very, very good. Because it's impossible not to like Jesse Kelly. Yeah, it is absolutely pouring outside. I can hear the rain over with the headphones on. And by the way, I got new headphones. The other ones were broken. I couldn't use them anymore. Had to order new ones, and I couldn't get the red and black ones, so I just got plain black. And I didn't realize how much I'd broken those in, like softening up the pad up here, and I've got a big ass head, so I've got it extended out all the way, and it's just barely pressing against my earlobes down here. I didn't realize how much I'd stretched out the other ones to fit me better. But we'll get there soon. From moderate Kelly to radical Kelly. Yeah, I do. I just can't believe I didn't even think of that. Jesse Kelly and Megyn Kelly. No relation. Yeah, Patchy, OGC stream last night. Pete said, if somebody is there with a Che shirt or a hammer and sickle, it's a communist protest. Yes. Yep. Communist protest. Speaking of, here's one of the wildest political attack ads I've ever seen in politics. Andrew Cuomo pulling out all the stops. This is the obviously the New York City mayor race, which is still a three-way race between Cuomo, Mamdani, and Curtis Sliwa. And it's funny to me that almost nobody that I listen to commentate on this pronounces Mamdani's name right. Everyone wants to call him Mondami. I don't know why. It's Mamdani. I don't like Mother Donald. Mamdani. Very, very easy. But this is an AI ad. Is this the first major actual political AI ads? Nonetheless, this is an ad from a Democrat against a Democrat.
Zohran Mamdani's opponents want you to believe he's an inexperienced radical whose policies will make New York City more dangerous. But what do his actual supporters think?
Mamdani isn't crazy.
He's just trying to even the playing field.
Give everyone a fair shot. Sure, he said multiple times we need to defund the police, but that was just a metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct. But that was also a metaphor.
His main backer, the Democratic Socialists' ideas are common sense, such as
decriminalizing misdemeanors, like shoplifting.
third-degree assault,
Trespassing. Prostitution.
And drunk driving.
With plans to decriminalize all drugs, Mamdani will be a job creator for drug dealers.
Instead of helping us homeless get off the streets and into the mental health facilities we need, he wants to give us safe injection sites to do crack and let us sleep in subway carts.
These are actual policies Mamdani and the DSA want to implement on day one.
When a woman's being domestically abused, she finally won't have to deal with some pesky cop to arrest the abuser, but now a social worker to help, kumbaya the situation.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Mamdani is finally lowering jail sentences.
Guilty!
But Mamdani says you're free to go. Woo-hoo! Who cares if legalizing prostitution statistically leads to an increase for sex trafficking of women and young girls by 70%?
You can't have safety without equality.
For unlawful abiding citizens like us, globalize the intifada.
I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
Yep. I'm a criminal.
For Zohran.
For Zohran Mamdani.
I didn't have a real job until I was 30, but sure, give me the keys to the city. What's the worst that can happen?
Paid for by Cuomo for NYC.
This is a real ad. I saw some people who were saying, no, that can't be real. No, it is a real ad. They tweeted it and then shortly deleted it. Someone from the Cuomo campaign put this together. Patchy said, wow, they're implying a lot of things here with this ad. You've got the black guy as a pimp. You got the black people shoplifting. You've got drug dealers. And this is a Democrat ad. There is a split fully emerging within the united left. They're not going to be able, the people who are splitting off are not going to be able to stick with them. They're going to wind up socially ostracized, cast out, the Andrew Cuomos of the world. They're going to try to tack away from their radical fringe. They're going to get eaten alive. It's very NYC ad. The Democrat Party has been fully and completely taken over by the communists. You still have some the Cuomos have been a pretty big name in Democrat politics for a while. And Andrew Cuomo's gotta still wield a pretty good amount of influence, but he's going to lose this election. You're going to get a communist mayor of NYC, a champagne socialist born in Uganda. Total shapeshifter, like the dude is made in a lab. If this is what the Democrats, if this is what the self-styled moderate fringe of the Democrat Party is producing in 2025, you realize how much the Overton window just swung? This has become normalized for Democrats to produce against Democrats. Just imagine what 2028 is going to look like. If there is a presidential election in 2028, the framing of the narrative is going to be, it's going to be at a point that is probably unfathomable to us right now, much less 2 or 3 years ago. Everything has moved so fast and so far, not just to the right. It's not so much that it's to the right. It's just toward there's a revelation of facts, revelation of truth here. Not just facts, but a revelation of truth. The truth is emerging. It can't be held down. It's all coming out. Speaking of political ads, controversial political ads, the government of Ontario produced this ad. They paid $75 million for this ad. The government of Ontario, Canada.
When someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. But over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. America's jobs and growth are at stake.
No, this was not AI. This is just a normal ad. The $75 million is the ad spend on it. They paid $75 million to play this ad, paid for by the government of Ontario. This quote from Ronald Reagan. So we have the government of Ontario, Canada, playing a political ad during election season in America. And obviously this is a clip of Ronald Reagan ostensibly being opposed to tariffs. And then the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation said, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute learned that the government of Ontario, Canada, created an ad campaign using selective audio and video of President Ronald Reagan delivering his radio address to the nation on free and fair trade, dated April 25, 1987. The ad misrepresents the presidential radio address, and the government of Ontario did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute is reviewing its legal options in this matter. We encourage you to watch President Reagan's unedited video on our YouTube channel. Yes, this is like definitionally flagrant foreign interference in an election. And immediately called out as fake news by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation. Because here is what they cut from that clip.
Well, I've never forgotten those jobs. And on trade issues, by and large, we've done well. In certain select cases, like the Japanese semiconductors, we've taken steps to stop unfair practices against American products. But we've still maintained our basic long-term commitment to free trade and economic growth. So, with my meeting with Prime Minister Nakasone and the Venice Economic Summit coming up, it's terribly important not to restrict a president's options in such trade dealings with foreign governments. Unfortunately, some in the Congress are trying to do exactly that. I'll keep you informed on this dangerous legislation because it's just another form of protectionism, and I may need your help to stop it. Remember, America's jobs and growth are at stake. Until next week, thanks for listening and God bless you.
So he goes on to say that the president's right to tariff as a matter of protecting American jobs, as a matter of national security, is an important thing. And the president needs to have that. So this is something they cut out of that clip. This is such a this is not like oh, look at that, they got one. This is evidence of their tremendous incompetence. Like thinking, first of all, hey, I know what we should do. We should cut an ad.
The white man is back, baby. The white man is back.
Yeah, it's not gonna play. Slosher says the premier of Ontario is you meant Doug Ford, brother of the late crack-smoking mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford. God took the wrong brother.
The premier of Ontario is Rob Ford, brother of the late crack-smoking mayor of Toronto, Rob Ford. God took the wrong brother.
Yeah. Rob Ford was a G. Actually, there's another. Let's see if this just showed up. Let me see if I can play
The white man is back, baby. The white man is back.
Jamal Dolph sent orders to the Schutzstandziel to deploy the Cyclone meme.
Thank you, Ian. Jamal Dolph, send orders to the Schutzstandziel to deploy the Cyclone meme. Well done, sir. I wish I could give you an Erica for that. Let's see if I can open the soundboard. Let's see if it'll open now. Thunder is just hammering away out there. It's loading. I'll give it some time to load and see if it happens. So, they, while being engaged with the United States on trade negotiations, the government of Ontario decides, hey, I know what we should do. We should produce a political ad attacking the president in the name of Ronald Reagan. Like, that's not going to go over poorly. And then, not only do they do that, but they selectively edit the clip from a clip where Reagan is saying the exact opposite. As if that's not just going to get unearthed immediately and turn into a huge scandal. Because that's exactly what happened. Trump truthed this. He says, the Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced that Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement, which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs. The ad was for $75 million. They only did this to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the USA. Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And then he went on to say, Canada cheated and got caught. They fraudulently took a big buy ad saying that Ronald Reagan did not like tariffs, when actually he loved tariffs for our country and its national security. Canada is trying to illegally influence the United States Supreme Court in one of the most important rulings in the history of our country. Canada has long cheated on tariffs, charging our farmers as much as 400%. Now they and other countries can't take advantage of the U.S. any longer. Thank you to the Ronald Reagan Foundation for exposing this fraud. Make America great again. They done fucked up. You done fucked up, Canada. And very predictably, like it should have been extremely predictable that this is how it was going to go. And what they're doing, they're continuing to demonstrate that they are a hostile actor. They're not an ally. They're not behaving the way an ally would behave. They're not behaving the way that a friendly northern neighbor would behave, showing deference to the regional hegemon that they cannot remotely compete with on any basis whatsoever. I don't think we're very far away from people beginning to just recognize that Canada is no more a friend than Mexico. The United States has hostile nations to the north and south of it. And the Don Roe Doctrine is going to continue unabated. So if Canada's back needs to be broken, politically speaking, that's going to happen. And there are lots of tools in the toolkit to make that happen. I don't want Canada's back to be broken. I do want our maple syrup brethren to be liberated from the cuckoldry that governs them. Remember the statistics we were reading yesterday. What was it that Peter St. Onge said that Canada's wages, Canada has West Virginia wages and a San Francisco housing market.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Alpha male alert.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then your talking don't matter.
Wait for it. Nothing there. Creek Money, thank you, my friend. He says, we are not living in 1980 Reagan times. The imminent threat of free trade is now abundantly clear. Correct. Yes, free trade is a weapon that has been used against us. Just like free markets or free education or free healthcare. It turns out that if someone is trying to sell you something that's free, there's a whole bunch of strings attached that you may not see right away. The libertarians are no different than the commies on this front. Markets do not exist in a state of freedom. Markets are a service that are provided. That service is provided by someone. There's a legal basis for it. The market must be sustained, paid for, protected, and upheld in order for it to exist. Same with free trade. Trade is not free. Trade can only be free within the context of an established rule set. And that established rule set must be enforced. Who's going to enforce it? A government. Go argue with a wall. Yeah, Vulpes Persona, there is no such thing as a free lunch. You know who's about to not be free? Mike Davis is here to tell us.
The irony of all ironies that some of the senators that
I love this guy.
Love spying.
He's
by
such a
the federal
bulldog.
government were the victims of spying by the federal government. Here's Chuck Grassley from this morning and Mike's response. Mike, can you just please outlay the landscape here for what Chuck Grassley discovered?
Yeah, Senator Chuck Grassley, my former boss, both of our home state senator from Iowa. He's dogged. He's determined. He's been the king of oversight for 60 plus years in Congress, and he really got the goods here. You have a memo from former FBI Director Chris Wray to Attorney General Merrick Garland, Biden Attorney General Merrick Garland, through Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, where they used the 2020 the presidential election challenge, which is totally permitted by the Electoral Count Act of 1887 and the First Amendment. They used that as a predicate, as a pretext to open a criminal investigation on President Trump, his top aides, his allies.
Slutty Milk says Mike Davis looks a bit like James Lindsay with high tea. Don't do him like that. Slutty Milk out here cooking our guys. Look at Benny Johnson over here. It's like, is he like trying to audition for James Bond or something? Looking rather intense.
And they were stupid enough in the Biden Justice Department to actually do it on U.S. senators. I always say presidents and their teams come and go, but senators last decades. And the Biden Justice Department was dumb enough to spy on 9 U.S. senators. And now U.S. senators who have not shown much interest in any of this lawfare over the last 8 years are suddenly keenly interested and very outraged by this. And so you have senators who generally are pretty milquetoast, are pretty fired up right now, and they are calling for investigations and calling for indictments. This is maybe
they went and activated a bunch of milquetoast senators, milquetoast centrist senators. Find out all of a sudden that they're getting they've been spied on by the Biden DOJ, and hang on a second, now all of a sudden the deep state's a problem.
The spark that we needed, Ben, to light a fire under people's asses to get these investigations going. I will also point out that my good friend Jason Redding Quinones got confirmed as
Quinones! P. Quinones is going to arrest the libs, and you're blackpilling?
The U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida in Miami. And I've been calling for a criminal probe for the last 3+ years since the Mar-a-Lago raid for a grand jury to investigate conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241
There it
for
is
these
again.
lawfare
Conspiracy against rights. Keep hearing that.
Democrats, how they politicized and weaponized intel agencies and law enforcement, going back 8 years to Crossfire Hurricane to take out Trump. His top aides like Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Jeff Clark, his supporters on January 6th. I've been very publicly calling for that on your show and 5,000 other media hits for the last 3 years. There's now a special grand jury that Jason just motioned the court in the Southern District of Florida to open in Fort Pierce. That's going to be impaneled in January. I think that sounds like a great place to open up this grand jury on Crossfire Hurricane and against these lawfare Democrats. Maybe, just maybe, that's going to happen, as I've been talking about for 3 years. And I will say this, I've been publicly calling for this for 3 years. I'm going to make damn sure that these lawfare Democrats go to prison during the 4 years of President Trump's second term, because these are Republican tactics by these lawfare Democrats. They took our country to the brink. They tried to bankrupt Trump for non-fraud. They tried to throw him in prison 4 times for non-crimes. They tried to take him off the ballot in Colorado and Maine and elsewhere unconstitutionally. They tried to take off his head when...
Remember that? Remember when there was that whole push that they were going to get Trump taken off the ballot in certain states? And I remember, this is before we were graced with the term panicking by our great and wonderful president. But I remember there being a lot of people who were very concerned that was going to be successful. I'm old enough to remember that. Like 2 years ago, people were like, oh, there's this court case, and he's got that court case, he's got this other court case, he's got all these court cases hanging over him, and, they're going to get him on something. Something. And they all just, like bugs on a windshield. Just splat. Just went splat. Absolutely nowhere. All they did was piss him off and everyone in his orbit. Yeah, lawfare Democrats. This is a great term, lawfare Democrats, a.k.a. communists.
Joe Biden underfunded Trump's Secret Service protection, said he was the biggest threat to democracy, and to put a bullseye on Trump. So, as I've promised and as I will deliver, justice is definitely coming. So lawyer up, motherfuckers, because justice is definitely coming.
Hell yeah. Lawyer up, motherfuckers. You like that clip? You'll like this one even better. This is... You can think whatever you want about Mike Davis, but there's no question. He is putting a gigantic target on his back. He is absolutely putting his money where his mouth is, going out and saying stuff like this.
Hello, Viceroy.
How you doing, Ben?
Top of the morning
before
to
we
you.
go to Arctic Frost, I want to jump in on what Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche are doing on these politicians who think they're going to arrest federal ICE agents. Let me translate what Pam and Todd have said, right? They have said that it is these are federal crimes. If you interfere with ICE agents when they're trying to arrest illegal aliens, that's harboring, that's obstruction of law enforcement, it's conspiracy, it's assault on a federal law enforcement officer. So let me just make this very clear to someone like Gavin Newsom. Hey, Gavin, if you do this, you're going to become a prison bitch, right? So, and to JB Pritzker.
This is the look of, all right, so you're putting my money where your mouth is as well, huh?
Or whatever his name is in Illinois, the governor of Illinois.
Whatever his name is.
Just like we're going to put Big Tish's fat ass in prison, if you do this, we'll put your fat ass in prison. That's the translation to what Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche are saying. Because if you think you're going to arrest ICE agents or interfere with ICE agents or...
Mike Davis is in a competition with Stephen Miller for the greatest declarations of loyalty to his president ever made.
Dox and endanger ICE agents, they're going to put you in prison. So you don't want to play this game. Pam Bondi is tough as nails. If you think that she's some sweet lady, this sweet blonde, you're going to be badly mistaken, because she will put you in prison. So keep messing around and find out what Pam does to you.
I called Gavin Newsom, so he's going to be a prison bitch. Mike Davis, Patriot. Look at this. More Homeland Security. Kino. Homeland Security is Sicario tweeting, boys. Cicero or Sicario? A day of crashes. October 22nd was one of the most violent days faced by DHS law enforcement since the beginning of Operation Midway Blitz. To the rioters, you will not stop us or slow us down. Look at this. It's so good. Oh, they're pandering to us so hard. Cicero. There's quite a double meaning here with Cicero, because it's Cicero, Illinois, but then there's also Cicero. Is this their way of telling J.B. Pritzker that they're going to cut off his hands? Cut out his tongue? Mail his head to his family? At a laundromat on Pulaski Road, U.S. Border Patrol was conducting immigration enforcement operations when one female U.S. citizen, Isabel Mata, allegedly threatened a law enforcement officer after stating she would put a hit out on Chief Gregory Bovino. This incident has been referred to the FBI. At 26th Street and Costner Avenue, 3 U.S. citizens, Jacqueline Lopez, Eliana Bahena, and Jonathan Uribe, none of those sound like Heritage American names to me, are accused of tailing Border Patrol vehicles to draw attention to them. One car then attempted to ram a vehicle, and all 3 drivers were taken into custody. At 24th Street and Ogden Avenue, U.S. Border Patrol was targeted by an aggressive U.S. citizen driver displaying an anti-ICE flag. The driver, Alexis Correa, a Latin Kings gang member, is accused of following agents for several miles on 26th Street and then attempted to ram the vehicle head-on. U.S. Border Patrol evaded the driver, but the suspects continued to drive recklessly, striking another car, a civilian car. The driver's criminal history includes convictions for unlawful possession of a firearm, destroying evidence, and DUI. He was arrested under 18 U.S.C. 111. At 25th Street and Kildare Avenue, CBP Office Field Operations arrested 1 U.S. citizen, Alexandra Torres, who is accused of recklessly impeding operations and tailing government vehicles. The driver ignored repeated commands from officers to cease actions, and he eventually boxed in government vehicles in an alleyway. His criminal history includes convictions for unlawful possession of a firearm by a gang member. In Glendale Heights, U.S. Border Patrol conducted a targeted immigration enforcement operation that resulted in the arrest of 3 illegal aliens from Mexico, who are all in violation of our nation's immigration laws. Agents encountered the 3 illegal aliens in a parking lot, and they refused to comply with verbal commands to exit their vehicle. The driver, Jose Mauricio Rosas Hernandez, reversed into a government vehicle and scraped another U.S. Border Patrol unit. One agent, while chasing on foot, was struck in the knee. These 3 criminals were taken into ICE custody. Cicero or Sicario, a day of crashes. I heard from a source, that ICE agents are actually getting shot at on basically on almost a weekly basis. It's happening way more often than it gets reported. I was just listening to Orrin McIntyre and Tim Pool a little earlier, and I think, say 10, 20 years in the future, 50 years in the future, when people look back, they're going to see the time that we are in right now as already within a war, some sort of civil war. It's going to be defined that way retrospectively. That war has already begun. And who knows where people will point to it as beginning. But Tim and Orrin were speculating that Charlie Kirk's assassination could be kind of like a Crispus Attucks moment, or like a Archduke Ferdinand moment. That will be seen as when it happened. But we are already in a war now. We have paramilitary forces effectively engaging in violent hostilities on a regular basis, constantly, all over the country, with federal agents. Now, here's the incident I referred to at the top of the show. The U-Haul truck incident at the Coast Guard base. This is in, I believe it was Alameda. Yeah. On October 23, 2025, a U-Haul truck driver reversed the vehicle directly toward a line of security personnel at the entrance to the U.S. Coast Guard base Alameda in California, prompting officers to open fire. The incident occurred around 10 p.m. local time, hours after a day of demonstrations outside the facility had dispersed. Eyewitness photographer here. I'll play the video for you guys, then we'll come back and read the rest of it. So this U-Haul van that had been used to blockade the road earlier on is the one to watch. And here is the entry into the base. And these are I don't know if these are just cops or if there's actual Coast Guard personnel, but these guys, there's some combination of pistols and long guns here. Yeah, Hank, yes, correct. That was exactly my thoughts as well. This is a dry run to test response. That's exactly what this is. This was a dry run to see how they would respond. At what point will they start firing? What sort of response is there? How soon do they fire? At what point? At what frequency? At what accuracy? Yes, Patchy. Assume it's Iraq and there's an IED in that truck. Exactly. If there was actually a VBIED in that, it got really fucking close to him. It got really, really close. And if they're testing response times like this, this is not just a bunch of chuckleheads. They've definitely amassed an army of chuckleheads, but they've got some actual operators in there that are trained in actual tactics, and they're probing. They're looking for a target. This was a dry run for a terrorist attack on a U.S. military base. That's what this was, by a foreign-sponsored domestic terror organization. This is a foreign-funded military on U.S. soil doing a dry run attack on a U.S. military installation. We're at war. The war already began. Now, my guess is, so what happened was the driver here got shot. And then a bystander over here on the other side also got hit. I think they said that he was hit by a fragment. Let's see here. Eyewitness photographer Rick Villaroman, reporting for KPIX, captured video footage showing the truck parked nearby for much of the day before suddenly accelerating in reverse toward officers blocking the gate on Coast Guard Island Bridge. He just hit the gas and sped towards them, Villaroman stated. Officers with guns drawn and yelling orders fired approximately 20 to 30 rounds at the vehicle. The driver halted the backward motion upon the gunfire, shifted gears, paused briefly for several seconds, appearing to look downward for over 30 seconds in one video, and then drove forward away from the line. The truck stopped momentarily before continuing, later returning to a nearby street, where the driver parked and exited on foot, abandoning the vehicle. Authorities confirmed 2 men arrived at local hospitals with gunshot wounds shortly after. One is believed to be the driver. There's a video of the other guy. He got shot like in the side, and I saw another report that said it was a ricochet. There's just a small hole. You can actually hear him in this video. You can hear him yelling, "I got hit, I got hit." No other injuries were reported among officers or bystanders. The U.S. Coast Guard Pacific Area and local police have not released the driver's identity or details on any arrests. An investigation into the use of force is ongoing with no further updates as of October 24 morning. So you can see him here. I don't know if he's like sitting here. He looks like he's on his phone, and maybe he just realized he got hit and he's looking for the location of the hospital or something. Yeah, you can see him there. He flags this van, and the van pulls in behind him, so that they can't trail him. This is coordinated. This is a coordinated military operation on U.S. soil, on a U.S. military installation, and I guarantee you that the administration took it that way. There's an interesting comment here from Hegseth. In response to a question Reporter asked him. Hegseth doesn't dispute the existence of a memo planning for the establishment of a, quote, National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April 2026. It's a very interesting date because a number of people I've heard recently have been talking about April. April keeps coming up as the point at which some funny business may begin.
Secretary Hegseth, sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that constitutionally and legally we can employ Title 10 and Title 32 forces, and we will do so when necessary.
So that's a confirmation. There is something happening, something brewing, and I'd heard about this a few months ago, but didn't really see like a ton of substantiation and stuff from it. So it was one of those that just kind of pinned up to see if there was something to come back to. That they're building some sort of a response force, some sort of a targeted, directed force that's trained specifically for urban combat, crowd control, civil unrest, that sort of thing, and building it through the National Guard. So this is, I'd heard people rumoring about this within maybe it was 6 or so weeks ago, and now that sounded to me like a confirmation without confirming. I can't remember what it was that people were looking at April as. I think I even was talking about something, and there was something I talked about here on the show that I speculated by. I said something by like April or May is when I would expect it to happen if it was going to happen, and I don't remember now what it was. If somebody in the chat remembers either anything, other people you've heard recently who've talked about something that's supposed to kick off by April. Or if you remember what I was talking about before, but that it perked my ears up because I was like, oh, I've had that little pin in my head of something getting spicy around April of 2026. April is when it'll start being continuously warm. Yeah, Oren and Tim Pool were talking about that today. Is when I think people speculate that maybe the feds are trying to push off as long as possible to see if places like Portland and Chicago are going to be much less ripe for rioting and such things during the winter, but by April things will be warming up again, and so that may be one sort of thing that coincides at that point. Okay, so let's talk about JD Vance. First of all, there was a vote in the Knesset about annexing the West Bank. This is while JD Vance was down there, was in Israel, and he was asked about this here.
West Bank started.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll do. Yeah.
The West Bank vote yesterday that took place while you were in the country.
Oh yeah, that was weird. I was sort of confused by that. Now I actually asked somebody about it, and they told me that it was a symbolic vote, some symbolic vote to recognize or a symbolic vote to annex the West Bank. I mean, what I would say to that is when I asked about it, somebody told me that it was a political stunt, that it had no practical significance. It was purely symbolic. I mean, look, if it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it. Thank you.
The vice president saying specifically that was a stupid political stunt. The administration was insulted by it, and this is not going to happen. You are not going to do it. Trump followed up by saying that if Israel was to annex the West Bank, they would lose all support from the U.S. government. Donald Trump, sitting president of the United States, is now on the record saying if Israel does this thing that Israel seems hell-bent on, I mean, just period. He is on the record saying Israel will lose all support from the federal government. It will be cut off. Simply saying that is a massive sea change. They're not getting the kid gloves anymore. They're not getting the most favored nation status. It's so abundantly obvious. You have completely microwaved your own brain. If you're still twisting yourself into some sort of knot to say that this is some galaxy-brained 4D underwater chess for how Israel is actually pulling all the strings. The administration is clearly completely fed up with Israel. If you're an adult, if you have like an adult understanding of the world around you, your head is not buried inside some fantasy world, you'll know that the U.S. federal government is never going to have the posture toward the U.S., formally have the posture toward Israel that 4chan does. That is not going to happen ever as a matter of diplomatic policy. And it's obviously not going to happen anytime within the next decade. Even if it was going to happen someday, it's not going to happen within the next decade. This is easily the most hostile that a presidential administration has ever been toward the nation of Israel. This is not a new policy either. This is a doubling down from, this was on 9/25, so about a month ago.
Did you promise leaders this week that you would not allow Israel to annex the West Bank? And is that something that you
I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. No, I will not allow it. It's not going to happen.
Did you speak with Netanyahu about this directly?
Yeah, but I'm not going to allow it. Whether I spoke to him or not, I did. But I'm not allowing Israel to annex the West Bank. There's been enough. It's time to stop now, okay?
There's just, I don't know how people can still continue to convince themselves that somehow this administration is acting at the behest of Israel. Like, clearly they're attempting to maintain ally status with them. They're attempting to maintain that relationship. But it's clear who's in the driver's seat here. And it's clear that the party that is in the driver's seat is very unhappy with how things are going. You have both the president and the vice president univocally saying Israel will not annex the West Bank, and if they do, we will cut off all diplomatic ties with them. They will stop receiving any support. This is the official, formally declared policy of the Trump administration. Has anyone heard about this? Has anyone, you see this in your favorite influencers and commentators as they discuss this? Are they talking about this massive sea change in formal U.S. federal government policy with respect to the nation of Israel? There was another really big sign as to the future of MAGA with respect to Israel. We'll get to that in just a second, because I want to set this up first with this video. Before I hit play, look at this. This is just the greatest pause screen ever. I was predatory. So Jen Psaki says that Vance is scarier than Trump. They're already moving on. They're starting to recognize an inevitability here.
I think the little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else.
Yeah.
I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like,
Agreed.
are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you. And that he's willing to do anything to get there. And that your whole iteration you just outlined, I mean, he's scarier in certain ways.
He's smarter.
In some ways. And he's young.
Yeah. And ambitious.
And ambitious. And agile.
He's young and he's ambitious. They can hardly resist the urge to horny post. even as they try to talk themselves into disliking him.
In the sense that he is a chameleon who makes
Right.
himself into whatever he thinks the audience wants to hear from him. Now, what's also true, though, is J.D. Vance is not, he's in some ways goodish on paper if you like what he believes in. I don't know. But I don't.
If you like what he believes in, I don't know. I don't know what he believes in. This is just the comments here about Usha. This is 100% jealousy. This is absolutely dried up egg syndrome. Cattily snipping at his wife because, yes, correct, Isaac. They want to fuck him so bad. That's exactly. They could barely disguise it.
I don't know that he can take the whole movement with him.
No way.
I don't
No
think so
way.
either.
There's no riz.
It's got no riz, right? And
no riz, says the 50-year-old women.
He just is a little odd. And so Trump's odd in a different way. So I'm skeptical of that. So yeah, he's got to, I mean, everything going on right now, and I think we have to be very clear-eyed about this, is about trying to manipulate the public around elections. And
Trying to wait a second. Hold the fort. They're trying to manipulate the public around elections? You mean they're trying to win an election? What? Republicans trying to win an election? Yeah, right. They're still trying to do the weird thing. They're trying to because that worked so well last time. They're going back to that. They're going back to that well. See if they can pull something out of it. Sunny Book says JD Vance with the JD stands for giant dick. Oh, it's an all-timer. How does he do it? Now, JD was asked about this in the same interview I just played for you just a minute ago. Oh, yeah, he fucks couches. I think I was thinking about this before when that whole thing was happening. I thought about it since then. That I think part of the reason why JD Vance fucking couches was a meme they tried to push was because they are that coon-brained. They literally liked thinking about that image. It's the party of porn. This is what he said. This happily married man.
Former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki made some comments suggesting that your wife, the Second Lady, needed to be saved from you. How do you feel about comments like that being made while you're here with the Second Lady?
Oh, I think it's disgraceful, but of course the Second Lady can speak for herself, and I'm very lucky to have a wonderful wife, and I know, or at least I hope that my wife feels the same about me, but we are very lucky to have this journey, or I should say I'm very lucky to go on this journey with a very loving wife. We're going to keep on serving the country together, and I'm honored to have Usha by my side on this trip in particular, but always.
Now, I will just point out that there are two categories of people who have decided that they need to attack Usha. That should tell you something. Supposedly, these are categories of people that are, enemies of one another, and that they both settled upon this need to attack Usha for whatever reason. What an odd thing to do. Seth Levy says, this is why attacks and memes don't stick to Vance. His immediate impulse is to smile and giggle. Even as he says the attack was disgraceful and praises his wife and family, he has a smile on his face. And Derek, Suitable Politics, so one of the greatest pieces of advice you'll get in politics are really personal interactions of any kind. Insults have exactly as much power as you assign to them. Vance has mastered assigning no power to them at all. So true. Now, it was quite significant that he went and made that statement about Israel and their stupid political stunt and took a personal offense to it. But that was not the most significant thing that he did while he was in Israel. Look at this. Look at this. J.D. Vance, the vice president at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The sitting vice president just traveled to Israel verbally tongue-lashed them, and went to one of the most important holy sites in the entire world. Perhaps the most important holy site in the entire world. No, not that one. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is the Vice President of the United States. Just let this wash over you for a moment. The first president, the first holder of presidential office, the first member of a presidential ticket, to recite from the Nicene Creed in his official capacity. And now he travels to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is not an accident. This is a very conspicuous action. This is sending a message. This isn't just like, oh, I want to go there. I've never been there before, and it would be cool to go check it out. This is sending a message. Are you receiving the message? This message is an IQ test. That's actually not totally right. It's not an IQ test. It's a soul test. Is your soul alive or is it dying? If your soul is alive, you're receiving this message. If it's dying, you have baked yourself in cynicism, and you think that you can galaxy brain this because you're so paranoid and neurotic and insecure and fearful. Just wait till I read his writing about his conversion in just a few moments. I had to include this one. Banger from David Carlson. We got a Protestant guy out here tweeting bangers. Me and the fellas planning the reconquest of Constantinople. Just look at it. Look at the man. This guy's going to be president. This image here, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance visits the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, accompanied by the Armenian, Greek, and Latin patriarchates, custodians of Christianity's holiest sites. He paused to pray at the stone of anointment. The Vice President kneeling to pray at the stone of anointment. And the reason I wanted to include this was, first of all, for that image right there. God bless J.D. Vance. Pray for J.D. Vance. But also because, see Usha standing back here. A bunch of these brain-rotted retards saw this image and decided that this was their opportunity to attack Usha for being Hindu. And standing there and viewing it from afar. I don't know how I do not have a theory of mind for the person who sees this and takes away some sort of like subversive, evil impression on Usha's behavior here. This to me looks like humility and respect. She's not a Christian yet. So she's not going to go do the Christian thing. But she's there to support her husband who is, and she's going to stand there with him and support him respectfully, watching from afar. She's actually there with him. And if you understand what holy sites are, what holy sites do to people, if you've not been brain rotted by materialism, you'll understand the significance of her being there in the physical presence of these physical locations. Here is one of the best takes I saw on this from Shane Schatzel. Pray for Usha. That sweet woman raised Hindu just had an up-close encounter with the mystery of the resurrection. Don't attack her. Don't lament her religion. Just pray for her. Imagine an entire nation of Christians praying for the conversion of just one woman. God will hear. Standing in the presence of a holy site like this does something to you. Pray for her. Slutty Mook says, I know Orthodox guys whose non-Orthodox wives don't go to church with them. So yeah, I don't know how people could see this negatively. Yes. Yes. Toots McGee says, we have a vice head of state praying at the stone of anointment. You're fucking blackpilling? Yeah, Ian Rhodes, the guys criticizing JD and his wife don't have wives. Very, very obviously. Very clearly. Saxon Hale says the comment about him being a chameleon is so retarded too. He's very clear about what he is. Yeah, he may be hiding power levels, but he's very consistent with his messaging. Not a chameleon by any means. Yeah, what they mean by saying he's a chameleon is he's likable and can get along with anyone. That's really what it is. Now, been looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to reading this again. The Conversion of J.D. Vance. How I Joined the Resistance by J.D. Vance on Mammon Becoming Catholic. Blog post on The Lamp magazine, posted on April 1st, 2020. Hey, there's some information in here about his wife too, the connection between his wife and his conversion, which is part of the reason why I wanted to read this. I often wonder what my grandmother, Mama as I called her, would have thought about her grandson becoming Catholic. We used to argue about religion constantly. She was a woman of deep but completely deinstitutionalized faith. She loved Billy Graham and Donald Ison, a preacher from her home in southeastern Kentucky, but she loathed organized religion. She often wondered aloud how the simple message of sin, redemption, and grace had given way to the televangelists on our early 1990s Ohio TV screen. These people are all crooks and perverts, she told me. All they want is money. But she watched them anyway, and they were the closest she usually came to regular church service, at least in Ohio. Unless she was back home in Kentucky, she rarely attended church, and if she did, it was usually to satisfy my early adolescent quest for some attachment to Christianity, besides the 700 Club. Like many poor people, Mama rarely voted, seeing electoral politics as fundamentally corrupt. She liked FDR, Harry S. Truman, and that was about it. Unsurprisingly, a woman whose only political heroes had been dead for decades didn't like politics as a matter of course, and cared even less for the political drift of modern Protestantism. My first real exposure to an institutional church would come later, through my father's large Pentecostal congregation in southwestern Ohio. But I knew a few things about Catholicism well before then. I knew that Catholics worshipped Mary. I knew they rejected the legitimacy of Scripture. And I knew that the Antichrist, or at least the Antichrist's spiritual advisor, would be a Catholic. Or, at the time, I would have said, is a Catholic, as I felt pretty confident that the Antichrist walked among us. Mama seemed not to care about Catholics, not to care much about Catholics. Her younger daughter had married one, and she thought him a good man. She felt their way of worshiping was rather formal and peculiar, but what mattered to her was Jesus. Revelation 18 may have been about Catholics, but it may have been about something else. But the Catholics she knew cared about Jesus, and that was all right with her. Still, Mama looms so large in my mind. She still, more than a decade after her death, is the person to whom I most feel indebted. Without her, I wouldn't be here. And the uncomfortable fact is that the Christ of the Catholic Church always seemed a little different from the Jesus I'd grown up with. A little too stodgy, too formal. Salmon's famous portrait of Christ hung upstairs near my bedroom, and that's how I encountered him. Personal and kind, but a little forlorn. The Christ of Catholicism floated high above you as a grown man or a baby, wreathed in beams of light and crowned like a king. There's no way to avoid the discomfort a woman like Mama felt with that kind of a Christ. The Catholic Jesus was a majestic deity, and we had little interest in majestic deities because we weren't a majestic people. This was the most significant hang-up I encountered after I began to think about becoming Catholic. I could think myself out of most standard objections. Catholics didn't, it turned out, worship Mary. Their acceptance of both scriptural and traditional authority slowly appeared to me as wisdom, as I watched too many of my friends struggle with what a given passage of Scripture could possibly mean. I even began to acquire a sense that Catholicism possessed a historical continuity with the Church Fathers, indeed with Christ himself, that the unchurched religion of my upbringing couldn't match. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that if I converted, I would no longer be my grandmother's grandson. So for many years, I occupied the uncomfortable territory between curiosity about Catholicism and mistrust. I got there in a pretty conventional way. I joined the Marines after high school, like so many of my peers. Indeed, the only other 2003 high school graduate on my block also enlisted in the Marines. I left for Iraq in 2005, a young idealist committed to spreading democracy and liberalism to the backward nations of the world. I returned in 2006, skeptical of the war and the ideology that underpinned it. Mama was dead, and without a church or anything to anchor me to the faith of my youth, I slid from devout to nominal, and then to something very much less. By the time I left the Marines in 2007 and began college at The Ohio State University, I read Christopher Hitchens and Sam Harris and called myself an atheist. I won't belabor the story of how I got there, because it's both conventional and boring. A lot of it had to do with a feeling of irrelevance. Increasingly, the religious leaders I turned to tended to argue that if you prayed hard enough and believed hard enough, God would reward your faith with earthly riches. But I knew many people who believed and prayed a lot without any riches to show for it. But there are two insights worth reflecting from that phase of my life, as they both presaged an intellectual awakening not long ago that ultimately led me back to Christ. The first is that, for an upwardly mobile poor kid from a rough family, atheism leads to an undeniable familial and cultural rupture. To be an atheist is to be no longer of the community that made you who you were. For so long, I hid my unbelief from my family. And not because any of them would have cared very much. Very few of my family members attended church. But everyone believed in something rather than nothing. There were ways of compensating for this, and one of those, at least for me, was a brief flirtation with libertarianism. To lose my faith was to lose my cultural conservatism, and in a world that was growing increasingly aligned with the Republican Party, my ideological response took the form of overcompensation. Having lost my cultural conservatism, I would become even more economically conservative. The irony, of course, is that it was the economic program of the Republican Party that least interested my family. None of them cared about how much the Bush administration slashed tax rates for billionaires. The GOP became a kind of totem. I attached myself to it ever more strongly because it gave me some common ground with my family. And the most respectable way to do so among my new college friends was through a dogged commitment to neoliberal economic orthodoxy. Tax breaks and Social Security cuts were socially acceptable ways to be conservative among the American elite. The second insight is that my abandonment of religion was more cultural than intellectual. There were ways in which I found my religion difficult to square with science as it came to me. I've never been a classical Darwinist, for instance, for reasons David Gellertner has outlined in his excellent new book. My vice president reads David Gellertner. But evolutionary theory, in some form, struck me as plausible, and though I consumed Tornado in a Junkyard and every other work of young Earth creationism, I eventually got to the point where I couldn't square my understanding of biology with what my church told me I had to believe. I was never so committed to young Earth creationism that I felt I had to choose between biology and Genesis. But the tension between a scientific account of our origin and the biblical account I'd absorbed made it easier to discard my faith. And the truth is that I discarded it for the simplest of reasons: the madness of crowds. Much of my new atheism came down to a desire for social acceptance among American elites. I spent so much of my time around a different type of people with a different set of priorities that I couldn't help but absorb some of their preferences. I became interested in secularism just as my attention turned to my separation from the Marines and my impending transition to college. I knew how the educated tended to feel about religion. At best, provincial and stupid. At worst, evil. Echoing Hitchens, I began to think, and then eventually to say things like, "The Christian cosmos is more like North Korea than America, and I know where I'd like to live." I was fitting into my new caste, in deed and emotion. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but the truth often reflects poorly on its subject. And if I can say something in my defense, it wasn't exactly conscious. I didn't think to myself, I am not going to be a Christian because Christians are rubes, and I want to plant myself firmly in the meritocratic masterclass. Socialization operates in more subtle but more powerful ways. My son is 2, and he has in the last 6 months, just as his social intelligence has skyrocketed, transitioned from ripping our German Shepherd's fur out to hugging and kissing him gleefully. Part of that comes from the joy of giving and receiving affections from man's best friend. But part of it comes from the fact that my wife and I grimace and complain when he tortures the dog, but coo and laugh when he loves on it. He responds to us much as I responded to the educated caste, to which I slowly gained exposure. In college, very few of my friends and even fewer of my professors had any sort of religious faith. Secularism may not have been a prerequisite to join the elites, but it sure made things easier. Of course, if you had told me this when I was 24, I would have protested vigorously. I would have quoted not just Hitchens, but Russell and Ayer. I would have told you all the ways in which C.S. Lewis was a moron whose arguments could only hold water against third-rate intellects. I'd watch Ravi Zacharias just to note the problems in his arguments, lest a better-read Christian deploy those arguments against me. I prided myself on an ability to overwhelm the opposition with my logic. There was an arrogance at the heart of my worldview, emotionally and intellectually. But I comforted myself with an appeal to a philosopher whose atheism come libertarianism told me everything I wanted to hear. Ayn Rand. Great smart men were only arrogant if they were wrong, and I was anything but that. But there were seeds of doubt, one planted in the mind and the other in the heart. The former I encountered during a mid-level philosophy course at Ohio State. We had read a famous written debate between Antony Flew, R.M. Hare, and Basil Mitchell. Flew, an atheist, though he later recanted, argues that theological utterances, like God loves man, are fundamentally unfalsifiable and thus meaningless. Because believers won't let a fact count against their faith, their views aren't really claims about the world. This certainly spoke to my experience of what believers say when faced with apparent difficulties. Confronted with an unspeakable tragedy, the Lord works in mysterious ways. In the face of loneliness and desperation, God still loves you. If real, obvious challenges to these sentiments were processed and then ignored by the faithful, then their faith must be pretty hollow. Our class spent the most time discussing Flew's opening volley and the response by Hare, which essentially concedes Flew's point but argues that religious feelings are meaningful and potentially true nonetheless. Basil Mitchell's response received less attention in class, but his words remain among the most powerful I've ever read. I've thought about them constantly since. He begins with a parable about a wartime soldier in occupied territory who meets a stranger. The soldier is so taken with the stranger that he believes he is the leader of the resistance, quoting now. Sometimes the stranger is seen helping members of the resistance, and the partisan is grateful and says to his friends, he is on our side. Sometimes he is seen in the uniform of the police, handing over patriots to the occupying power. On these occasions, his friends murmur against him, but the partisan still says, he is on our side. He still believes that, in spite of appearances, the stranger did not deceive him. Sometimes he asks the stranger for help and receives it. He is then thankful. Sometimes he asks and does not receive it. Then he says, the stranger knows best. Sometimes his friends, in exasperation, say, well, what would he have to do for you to admit that you were wrong and that he is not on our side? But the partisan refuses to answer. He will not consent to put the stranger to the test. And sometimes his friends complain, well, if that's what you mean by his being on our side, the sooner he goes back over to the other side, the better. The partisan of the parable does not allow anything to count decisively against the proposition, the stranger is on our side. This is because he has committed himself to trust the stranger. To troost, you might say. That's my parenthetical addition. But he, of course, recognizes that the stranger's ambiguous behavior does count against what he believes about him. It is precisely this situation which constitutes the trial of his faith. End quote. At the time, I tried my best to dismiss Mitchell's response. Flew had described the faith I discarded perfectly. But Mitchell articulated a faith that I had never encountered personally. Doubt was unacceptable. I had thought that the proper response to a trial of faith was to suppress it and pretend it never happened. But here was Mitchell conceding that the brokenness of the world and our individual tribulations did, in fact, count against the existence of God, but not definitively. I would eventually conclude that Mitchell had won the philosophical debate years before I realized how much his humility in the face of doubt affected my own faith. As I advanced through our educational hierarchy, moving on from Ohio State to Yale Law School, I began to worry that my assimilation into elite culture came at a high cost. My sister once told me that the song that made her think of me was Simple Man by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Though I had fallen in love, I found that the emotional demons of my childhood made it hard to be the type of partner I'd always wanted to be. My Randian arrogance about my own ability melted away when confronted with the realization that an obsession with achievement would fail to produce the achievement that mattered most to me for so much of my life: a happy, thriving family. I had immersed myself in the logic of the meritocracy and found it deeply unsatisfying. And I began to wonder, were all these worldly markers of success actually making me a better person? I had traded virtue for achievement and found the latter wanting. But the woman I wanted to marry cared little whether I obtained a Supreme Court clerkship. She just wanted me to be a good person. It's possible, of course, to overstate our own inadequacies. I never cheated on my would-be spouse. I never became violent with her. But there was a voice in my head that demanded better of me. That I put her interests above my own. That I master my temper for her sake as much as for mine. And I began to realize that this voice, wherever it came from, was not the same one that compelled me to climb as high as I could up our ladder of meritocracy. It came from somewhere more ancient and more grounded. It required reflection about where I came from rather than cultural divorce from it. As I considered these twin desires for success and character, and how they conflicted, and didn't, I came across a meditation from St. Augustine on Genesis. I've been a fan of Augustine since a political theorist in college assigned City of God. But his thoughts on Genesis spoke to me and are worth reproducing at length. Quoting again. In matters that are obscure and far beyond our vision, even in such as we may find treated in Holy Scripture, different interpretations are sometimes possible without prejudice to the faith we have received. In such a case, we should not rush in headlong and so firmly take our stand on one side that, if further progress in the search of truth justly undermines this position, we too fall with it. That would be to battle not for the teaching of Holy Scripture, but for our own, wishing its teaching to conform to ours, whereas we ought to wish ours to conform to that of sacred Scripture. Let us suppose that in explaining the words, "And God said, let there be light, and light was made," Genesis 1 and 3, one man thinks that it was material light that was made, and another that it was spiritual. As to the actual existence of spiritual light in a spiritual creature, our faith leaves no doubt. As to the existence of material light, celestial or supercelestial, even existing before the heavens, a light which could have been followed by night, there will be nothing in such a supposition contrary to the faith until unerring truth gives the lie to it. And if that should happen, this teaching was never in Holy Scripture, but was an opinion proposed by man in his ignorance. Usually, even a non-Christian knows something about the earth, the heavens, and the other elements of the world, about the motion and orbit of the stars and even their size and relative positions, about the predictable eclipses of the sun and moon, the cycles of the years and the seasons, about the kinds of animals, shrubs, stones, and so forth. And this knowledge he holds to as being certain from reason and experience. Now, it is a disgraceful and dangerous thing for an infidel to hear a Christian, presumably giving the meaning of Holy Scripture, talking nonsense on these topics. And we should take all means to prevent such an embarrassing situation in which people show up vast ignorance in a Christian and laugh it to scorn. In other words, you have an obligation as a Christian not to be a retard. Because if you're being a retard, even if it is not something that's directly scriptural, you can misrepresent. You can give people a bad impression. You can give them the impression of Christians are retarded. They believe stupid, retarded things. Even if it's not something directly salvational or pertaining strictly to Scripture, you're casting stumbling blocks in front of them. The shame is not so much that an ignorant individual is derided, but that people outside the household of faith think our sacred writers held such opinions, and, to the great loss of those for whose salvation we toil, the writers of our scripture are criticized and rejected as unlearned men. If they find a Christian mistaken in a field which they themselves know well, and hear him maintaining his foolish opinions about our books, how are they going to believe those books in matters concerning the resurrection of the dead, the hope of eternal life, and the kingdom of heaven, when they think their pages are full of falsehoods on facts which they themselves have learnt from experience and the light of reason? End quote. I couldn't stop thinking about how I would have reacted to this passage when I was a kid. If someone had made the very same argument to me when I was 17, I would have called him a heretic. This was an accommodation to science, the kind that someone like Bill Maher rightly mocked contemporary moderate Christians for indulging. Yet here was a person telling us 1,600 years ago that my own approach to Genesis was arrogance, the kind that might turn a person from his faith. This, it turned out, was a little too on the nose, and the first crack in my proverbial armor. I began circulating the quote among friends, believers and non-believers alike, and I thought about it constantly. Around the same time, I attended a talk at our law school with Peter Thiel. This was 2011, and Thiel was a well-known venture capitalist, but hardly a household name. He would later blurb my book and became a good friend, but I had no idea what to expect at the time. He spoke first in personal terms, arguing that we were increasingly tracked into cutthroat professional competitions. We would compete for appellate clerkships and then Supreme Court clerkships. We would compete for jobs at elite law firms and then for partnerships at those same places. At each juncture, he said, our jobs would offer longer work hours, social alienation from our peers, and work whose prestige would fail to make up for its meaninglessness. He also argued that his own world of Silicon Valley spent too little time on the technological breakthroughs that made life better, those in biology, too little time on the technological breakthroughs that made life better, those in biology, energy, and transportation, and too much on things like software and mobile phones. Everyone could now tweet at each other or post photos on Facebook, but it took longer to travel to Europe, we had no cure for cognitive decline and dementia, and our energy use increasingly dirtied the planet. He saw these two trends, elite professionals trapped in hyper-competitive jobs and the technological stagnation of society, as connected. If technological innovation were actually driving real prosperity, our elites wouldn't feel increasingly competitive with one another over a dwindling number of prestigious outcomes. Sound familiar? There should be a name that's in your head right now. You'll hear it in just a moment. Peter's talk remains the most significant moment of my time at Yale Law School. He articulated a feeling that had until then remained unformed, that I was obsessed with achievement in se, not as an end to something meaningful, but to win a social competition. My worry that I had prioritized striving over character took on a heightened significance. Striving for what? I didn't even know why I cared about the things I cared about. I fancied myself educated, enlightened, and especially wise about the ways of the world, at least compared with most of the people from my hometown. Yet I was obsessed with obtaining professional credentials, a clerkship with a federal judge, and then an associate position at a prestigious firm that I didn't understand. I hated my limited exposure to legal practice. I looked to the future and realized that I'd been running a desperate race where the first prize was a job I hated. I began immediately planning for a career outside the law, which is why I spent less than 2 years after graduation as a practicing attorney. But Peter left me with one more thing. He was possibly the smartest person I'd ever met, but he was also a Christian. He defied the social template I'd constructed, that dumb people were Christians and smart ones atheists. I began to wonder where his religious belief came from, which led me to, René Girard, the French philosopher whom he apparently studied under at Stanford. Girard's thought is rich enough that any effort to summarize will fail to do the man justice. His theory of mimetic rivalry, that we tend to compete over the things that other people want, spoke directly to some of the pressures I experienced at Yale. But it was his related theory of the scapegoat and what it revealed about Christianity that made me reconsider my faith. One of Girard's central insights is that human civilizations are often, perhaps even always, founded on a scapegoat myth. an act of violence committed against someone who has wronged the broader community, retold as a sort of origin story for the community. Gerard points out that Romulus and Remus are, like Christ, divine children, and like Moses, placed in a river basket to save them from a jealous king. There was a time when I bristled at such comparisons, worried that any seeming lack of originality on the part of Scripture meant that it couldn't be true. This is a common rhetorical device of the new atheists. Point to some creation story, like the flood narrative in the Epic of Gilgamesh, as evidence that the sacred authors have plagiarized their story from some earlier civilization. It reasonably follows that if the biblical story is lifted from somewhere else, the version in the Bible may not be the word of God after all. But Gerard rejects this inference and leans into the similarities between biblical stories and those from other civilizations. To Gerard, the Christian story contains a crucial difference, a difference that reveals something hidden since the foundation of the world. In the Christian telling, the ultimate scapegoat has not wronged the civilization. The civilization has wronged him. The victim of the madness of crowds is, as Christ was, infinitely powerful, able to prevent his own murder, and perfectly innocent, undeserving of the rage and violence of the crowd. In Christ, we see our efforts to shift blame and our own inadequacies onto a victim for what they are, a moral failing projected violently upon someone else. Christ is the scapegoat who reveals our imperfections and forces us to look at our own flaws rather than blame our society's chosen victims. People come to truth in different ways, and I'm sure some will find this account unsatisfying. But in 2013, it captures so well the psychology of my generation, especially its most privileged inhabitants. Mired in the swamp of social media, we identified a scapegoat and digitally pounced. We were keyboard warriors, unloading on people via Facebook and Twitter, blind to our own problems. We fought over jobs we didn't actually want while pretending we didn't fight for them at all. And the end result, for me at least, was that I had lost the language of virtue. I felt more shame over failing in a law school exam than I did about losing my temper with my girlfriend. That all had to change. It was time to stop scapegoating and focus on what I could do to improve things. These very personal reflections on faith, conformity, and virtue coincided with a writing project that would eventually become a very public success. Hillbilly Elegy, the hybrid book of memoir and social commentary I published in 2016. I look back on earlier drafts of the book and realized just how much I changed from 2013 to 2015. I started the book angry, resentful of my mother, especially, and confident in my own abilities. I finished it a little humbled, and very unsure about what to do to solve so many of our social problems. And the answer I landed on, as unsatisfactory then as it is now, is that you can't actually solve our social problems. The best you can hope for is to reduce them or to blunt their effects. I noticed during my research that many of those social problems came from behavior for which social scientists and policy experts had a different vocabulary. On the right, the conversation often turned to culture and personal responsibility, the ways in which individuals or communities held back their own progress. And though it seemed obvious to me that there was something dysfunctional about some of the places in which I'd grown up, the discourse on the right seemed a little heartless. It failed to account for the fact that destructive behaviors were almost always tragedies with terrible consequences. It's one thing to wag your finger at another person for failing to act a certain way, but it's something else to feel the weight of the misery that comes from those actions. The left's intellectuals focused much more on the structural and external problems facing families like mine. The difficulty in finding jobs and the lack of funding for certain types of resources. And while I agreed that more resources were often necessary, there seemed to me a sense in which our most destructive behaviors persisted, even flourished, in times of material comfort. The economic left was often more compassionate, but theirs was a kind of compassion, devoid of any expectation, that reeked of giving up. A compassion that assumes a person is disadvantaged to the point of hopelessness is like sympathy for a zoo animal, and I had no use for it. As I reflected on these competing views of the world and the wisdom and shortcomings of each, I felt desperate for a worldview that understood our bad behavior as simultaneously social and individual, structural and moral. That recognized that we are products of our environment, that we have a responsibility to change that environment, but that we are still moral beings with individual duties. One that could speak against rising rates of divorce and addiction, not as sanitized conclusions about their negative social externalities, but with moral outrage. And I realized eventually that I had already been exposed to that worldview. It was my mama's Christianity. And the name it gave for the behaviors I had seen destroy lives and communities was sin. I remembered one of my least favorite passages from Scripture, Numbers 14:18, in a new light. The Lord is slow to anger, abounding in love and forgiving sin and rebellion. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation. A decade ago, I took this as evidence of a vengeful, irrational God. Yet who could look at the statistics on what our early 21st century culture and politics had wrought, the misery, the rising suicide rates, the deaths of despair in the richest country on earth, and doubt that the sins of parents had any effect on their children? And here again, the words of St. Augustine echoed from a millennium and a half earlier, articulating a truth I had felt for a long time but hadn't spoken. This is a passage from City of God where Augustine summarizes the debauchery of Rome's ruling class. Quoting again, "This is our concern, that every man be able to increase his wealth so as to supply his daily prodigalities, and so that the powerful may subject the weak for their own purposes. Let the poor court the rich for a living, and that under their protection they may enjoy a sluggish tranquility, and let the rich abuse the poor as their dependents, to minister to their pride. Let the people applaud not those who protect their interests, but those who provide them with pleasure. Let no severe duty be commanded, no impurity forbidden. Let kings estimate their prosperity not by the righteousness, but by the servility of their subjects. Let the provinces stand loyal to the kings, not as moral guides, but as lords of their possessions and purveyors of their pleasures, not with a hearty reverence, but a crooked and servile fear. Let the laws take cognizance rather of the injury done to another man's property than of that done to one's own person. If a man be a nuisance to his neighbor or injure his property, family, or person, let him be actionable. But in his own affairs, let everyone with impunity do what he will in company with his own family and with those who willingly join him. Let there be a plentiful supply of public prostitutes for everyone who wishes to use them, but specially for those who are too poor to keep one for their own private use. Let there be erected houses of the largest and most ornate description. In these let there be provided the most sumptuous banquets, where everyone who pleases may, by day or night, play, drink, vomit, dissipate. Let there be everywhere heard the rustling of dancers, the loud, immodest laughter of the theater. Let a succession of the most cruel and the most voluptuous pleasures maintain a perpetual excitement. If such happiness is distasteful to any, let him be branded as a public enemy. And if any attempt to modify or put an end to it, let him be silenced, banished, put an end to. Let these be reckoned the true gods who procure for the people this condition of things and preserve it when once possessed." End quote. It was the best criticism of our modern age I'd ever read. A society oriented entirely toward consumption and pleasure, spurning duty and virtue. Not long after I first read these words, my friend Orrin Cass published a book arguing that American policymakers have focused far too much on promoting consumption as opposed to productivity or some other measure of well-being. The reaction, criticizing Orrin for daring to push policies that might lower consumption, almost proved the argument. Yes, I found myself saying, Orrin's preferred policies might reduce per capita consumption, but that's precisely the point. Our society is more than the sum of its economic statistics. If people die sooner in the midst of historic levels of consumption, then perhaps our focus on consumption is misguided. And indeed, it was this insight, more than any other, that ultimately led not just to Christianity, but to Catholicism. Despite my mama's unfamiliarity with the liturgy, the Roman and Italian cultural influences, and the foreign pope, I slowly began to see Catholicism as the closest expression of her kind of Christianity. Obsessed with virtue, but cognizant of the fact that virtue is formed in the context of a broader community. Sympathetic with the meek and poor of the world without treating them primarily as victims. Protective of children and families and with the things necessary to ensure they thrive. And, above all, a faith centered around a Christ who demands perfection of us, even as he loves unconditionally and forgives easily. It was this insight that took me from a few informal conversations with a couple of Dominican friars to a more serious period of study with one in particular. I almost wish it hadn't been so gradual, that there had been an aha moment that made me realize I just had to become Catholic. There were some weird coincidences that hastened my decision. One came about a year ago at a conference I attended with largely conservative intellectuals. Late at night at the hotel bar, I questioned a conservative Catholic writer about his criticism of the Pope. My growing view is that too many American Catholics have failed to show proper deference to the papacy, treating the Pope as a political figure to be criticized or praised according to their whims. While he admitted that some Catholics went too far, he defended his more measured approach, when suddenly a wine glass seemed to leap from a stable place behind the bar and crashed on the floor in front of us. We both stared at each other in silence for a bit, a little startled by what we had just seen, before ending our conversation abruptly and excusing ourselves to turn in for the night. Another took place in Washington, D.C. during a particularly grueling week of travel. I hadn't seen my family in a few days and hadn't even had the time to call my toddler on the phone. In moments like this, I sometimes listen to a beautiful setting of a psalm performed during Pope Francis's visit to Georgia in 2016 by an Orthodox choir. And now I'm going to play that for you guys, because if you haven't heard this, I will be very proud to be the one to introduce it to you, introduce you to it. Those were Orthodox Christians singing in Aramaic in the country of Georgia. And that was, it says Psalm 53. I thought it was Psalm 51, but it says it was Psalm 53. This is Psalm 53, the King James Version. The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they and have done abominable iniquity. There is none that doeth good. God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek God. Every one of them is gone back. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Have the workers of iniquity no knowledge, who eat up my people as they eat bread? They have not called upon God. There were they in great fear where no fear was. For God hath scattered the bones of him that encampeth against thee. Thou hast put them to shame because God hath despised them. Oh, that the salvation of Israel were come out of Zion. When God bringeth back the captivity of his people, Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. So back to JD. He says, I sometimes listen to a beautiful setting of a psalm performed during Pope Francis's visit to Georgia in 2016 by an Orthodox choir. I listened to it on the train from New York to Washington, where I knew a Dominican friar whom I decided to ask to coffee. He invited me to visit his community where I heard the friars chanting, apparently, the same psalm. Now, I know it's easy to make the skeptic's case. JD watched a video of a priest chanting a Bible verse, and then he emailed a member of a religious order who later chanted the same thing. But to quote Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction, you're judging this shit the wrong way. I mean, it could be that God stopped the bullets, or he changed the Coke to Pepsi, he found my fucking car keys. You don't judge shit like this based on merit. Now, whether or not what we experienced was an, according to Hoyle, miracle is insignificant, what is significant is that I felt the touch of God. So yes, during little moments over the last few years, I've felt the touch of God. As much as it would make for a better story, I cannot say that any of these things made me stand up and say, it's time to convert. The move was more incremental. I became convinced that Mama would accept Catholic theology even if its cultural trappings made her feel uneasy. There were the words of St. Augustine and Gerard and the example of my Uncle Dan, who married into our family but demonstrated Christian virtue more thoroughly than any person I'd met. There were good friends who made me see that I didn't need to abandon my reason before I approached the altar. I came eventually to believe that the teachings of the Catholic Church were true, but it happened slowly and unevenly. There were things that made it harder even after I'd made up my mind. The sexual abuse crisis made me wonder whether joining the church meant subjecting my child to an institution that cared more for its own reputation than the protection of its members. Working through these feelings delayed my conversion for at least a few months. There was a concern that it would be unfair to my wife. She hadn't married a Catholic, and I felt like I was throwing her into it. But from the beginning, she supported my decision, so I can't blame the delay on her. I was received into the Catholic Church on a beautiful day in mid-August, in a private ceremony not far from my house. I woke up on the day of my reception a little apprehensive, worried that I was making a big mistake. For all of my doubts about how Mama might have reacted, it was one of her favorite phrases that I heard, in her voice, ringing in my ears that morning. Time to shit or get off the pot. I was baptized and I received my first communion. I found it all very beautiful, though I should admit that I still felt uneasy about something so far removed from my youthful church-going experiences. Much of my family came to support me. My 2-year-old son, one of my favorite parts about the church is that it encourages parents to bring their kids, chomped on a lot of goldfish crackers. At the end of it, the Dominican friars who welcomed me hosted my friends and family for coffee and donuts. I try to keep a little humility about how little I know and how inadequate a Christian I really am. I'm most comfortable engaging with people around ideas. If you can't read something and debate it, I've always been a little less interested. But the church isn't just about ideas and St. Augustine, whom I chose as my patron. It's about the heart as well, and the community of believers. It's about going to Mass and receiving the sacraments, even when it's difficult or awkward to do so. It's about so many things that I'm ignorant of, and in the process of becoming less ignorant over time. My wife has said that the business of converting to Catholicism, studying and thinking about it, was good for you. And I came eventually to see that she was right, at least in some cosmic sense. I realized that there was a part of me, the best part, that took its cues from Catholicism. It was the part of me that demanded that I treat my son with patience. It made me feel terrible when I failed. That demanded that I moderate my temper with everyone, but especially my family. That demanded that I care more about how I rated as a husband and father than as an income earner. That demanded that I sacrifice professional prestige for the interests of family. That demanded that I let go of grudges and forgive even those who wronged me. As St. Paul says in his epistle to the Philippians, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report. If there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. It was the Catholic part of my heart and mind that demanded that I think on the things that actually mattered. And if I wanted that part of me to be nurtured and to grow, I needed to do more than read the occasional book of theology or reflect on my own shortcomings. I needed to pray more, to participate in the sacramental life of the church, to confess and to repent publicly, no matter how awkward that might be. And I needed grace. I needed, in other words, to become Catholic, not merely to think about it. That was How I Joined the Resistance by J.D. Vance. Written April 1, 2020. I know some of you have probably heard me read through that from the episode I did about a year ago, a little over a year ago, on the conversion of J.D. Vance, where I read through it and I commented on it quite a bit more. That episode is available on the King Pilled channel, or as a past podcast. It's called The Conversion of J.D. Vance. Some of you may have just heard this for the first time. You didn't hear it before. But having read that, I can't not see him as 100% thoroughly our guy. Yeah, Zoomer Dylan, he is our guy. He is me. I relate to so many of those things. So many of the exact same processes. We've read some of the same books. We've listened to the same debates. We've read the same authors. We've contemplated the same issues. And there is an authenticity and a vulnerability and a sincerity and a circumspection in the way that he writes and thinks through these things. He's clearly very intelligent, clearly very well read, very self-aware, very humble. I see myself in him. And it is just so significant to have a vice president like that. I've never felt more represented in my entire life. I've never felt more like I've gotten what I voted for and then some. So when I see J.D. Vance go to Israel and bypass the wall and go worship at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, that means something. This is why I cannot tolerate any Usha slander. Any suggestion that he's some sort of Manchurian candidate, he's some like crypto-Zionist who's propped up by the state of Israel to lure us all in, is so patently absurd. He wrote this in April of 2020 and published it on the Lamp magazine website. I've probably brought more views to this with my little channel than anything else. I've never heard anybody else even reference it. I don't even remember how I came across it. It's not like what am I supposed to believe here? That in April of 2020, he was sitting down or he hired someone to ghostwrite this thing for him. Oh, here's what I'm going to do. In April of 2020, the beginning of COVID, when the dissident right wasn't even a thing, hardly. Oh, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write out this thing so that in 2024, when I'm going to run for president, and we have this big upswell in a return to traditional Christianity, I can bait all of those tradcasts and ortho bros on the internet who are going to be key to the re-election of Donald Trump, and I'm going to be his vice president, and oh boy, they're sure going to get suckered. You're a fucking moron if you think something like that. He wrote this because this is what he believes. This is a year and a half before he even announced his campaign for the Senate. JD Vance is our guy. Who knows what the future holds with him, but never have we had a man of such character and spiritual, what's the word? Attunedness. Someone who's so spiritually alive. All right, last thing for you guys, and I'm going to leave you for the night because it is after 2 o'clock here. Thunder is going bonkers out there. It's made me jump scare a couple of times, and I've got to go edit a couple of videos together now because I also realized I forgot to hit record when I started streaming again. I didn't record this, so I'm going to have to download it from Kick, which is going to take a while to process. I'm not going to go to bed until like 6 o'clock probably. So, last thing. Some J. Caleb Jones. Stumbled across this guy recently. Very interesting follow. The world's leading expert on the Star of the Magi. Unfortunately, the world doesn't know it yet. See more at themagistar.com. Very, very interesting character. He posted this. Absolutely wild biblical and historical fact. According to Thucydides in 400 BC in the Peloponnesian War, Book 1, Chapters 2 and 3, there's an explanation of the name of the people, the Hellenes, and the land, the Hellas. In that explanation, he says that in ancient times, quote, the country now called Hellas had in ancient times no settled population, end quote, and there was no commerce, no freedom of communication, and no agriculture, with the people being, quote, destitute of capital, never planting their land, and they, quote, neither built large cities nor attained to any other form of greatness. He says that this all changed when Hellen, son of Deucalion, came to the region and gave the people and the land its name. Quoting, Hellen and his sons grew strong in Phthiotis, the region of Thessaly and Thessalonica, and were invited as allies into the other cities that one by one they gradually acquired from the connection the name of Hellenes. He notes that the evidence of this is that in the Iliad and the Odyssey, there is no name of Hellenes given to those who besieged Troy. But instead, they have names like Danaans, I don't know how you pronounce that, Argives, and Achaeans. It is only Achilles from Phthiotis, the original settlement of Hellen, son of Deucalion, who is referred to as the original Hellenes. He notes that over time, these other names were discarded, and the whole people began to understand themselves as belonging to the original ruler, Hellen, who was the, quote, son of Deucalion. Now, thus far, he said this is a biblical fact. Thus far, we haven't gotten a whole lot of biblical stuff out of this, but just you wait. This might not mean much to you until you recognize who Deucalion is. As identified by Philo of Alexandria in On Rewards and Punishments, quote, now this man the Greeks call Deucalion, but the Chaldeans name him Noah. And it was in his time that the great deluge took place. In other words, the ordinary non-biblical explanation of the origin of the Greeks is that a descendant of Noah came to Greece and settled it, bringing it into what it was at the time of the Trojan War and afterwards. This matches what is described in Genesis 10, 1-5. Quote, the sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan. From these the coastland people spread in their lands, each with his own language, by their clans, in their nations. The coastlands would include Greece. And Josephus in Antiquities 161 identifies Javan as the man Thucydides calls Hellen. Think about what this means. It means that the Trojan War is the story about the descendants of Noah fighting each other from the cities that they ruled over. Note that this explains the weird fact that in the Odyssey, Odysseus was gone for like 20 years. He was already an adult when the Trojan War started, and his wife was still hot and super desirable by the nobodies back home. That's because she's not a normal human being like us, and neither was Odysseus. Instead, she is much like Sarah, the wife of Abraham, and Odysseus is also the same. These patriarchs had similar qualities of vitality with age. These men, both inside and outside of your Bible, are who Hesiod describes as the Age of Heroes in Works and Days, which appeared after the race that was destroyed in the Great Deluge. Quote, a godlike race of hero men who are called demigods, the race before our own throughout the boundless earth. Grim war and dread battle destroyed a part of them, some in the land of Cadmus at seven-gated Thebe, when they fought for the flocks of Oedipus, and some when it had brought them in ships over the great sea gulf to Troy for rich-haired Helen's sake. There death's end enshrouded a part of them. Do you also remember the characters in the Iliad who have the gods in their genealogies? I've got one word for that: Nephilim. As it says in Genesis 6:4 before the flood, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. And after the flood in Genesis 10:8, which explains the reintroduction of the Nephilim, Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty man. And in Numbers 13:33, and there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. Yep, that's just sitting right out there in the open for anybody to recognize. Everyone, except for we modern people, thought that this was just simply normal. How's that for a mind blower for you guys? This guy asks, I wonder what accounts for the loss of vitality and length of age from the patriarchs down to our own time. It seems like we just lost the blood of Adam with each succeeding generation. And J. Caleb Jones says, yes, there is a bit of genetics, because notice how fervently Abraham and Isaac were about their bloodline, even marrying half-sisters and cousins, etc. But there is also some flat-out magic involved too. God's direct intervention into human affairs is the other half of it. Look at the genealogy of Exodus 6. The Hebrews were not normal, and Egyptians noticing this is what caused the Pharaoh, who didn't know about Joseph, to fear them. That age and vitality quality disappears during the 40 years in the wilderness. That was God's direct intervention. After that, the Hebrews lived normal ages. Psalm 90 has a lament of Moses that discusses this fact, as it says in Psalm 90, 7-10, for we are brought to an end by your anger, by your wrath we are dismayed. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your presence. For all our days pass away under your wrath. We bring our years to an end like a sigh. The years of our life are 70, or even by reason of strength 80. Yet their span is but toil and trouble. They are soon gone, and we fly away. The Hebrews used to live into the 130s like normal. It's a divine command that ends the extra long lifespans of the children of Abraham. Dwindles to the ordinary 120 years because, per Genesis 6:3, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. Ever since then, 120 has been the limit for all human beings, and that also caught up to the sons of Abraham. So there you be. Let that one percolate for the weekend. Enjoy yourselves, fellas. Emperor Atreides has got to love Vance, dude. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have not heard that before, hopefully now you understand just why I am, or you understand why I am so convinced in him as our guy. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate all the donations tonight. Creek money with the Alpha Male Alert, $100. Slosher, Ian, Cy Kyle, Saxon Hale. Thank you all of you guys for hitting the tips link. Reminder that you guys, if you're listening to this later on, if you'd like to support the show, you would like to send some money directly into my pocket to help pay the bills here, then you can do so by going to tips.kingpill.com and I'll make sure that I read it on the next episode. We got 6 days to go in the month of October. We're at 2334, so we're just a little over 58% of the way to the streamer salary goal, or maybe it's the King Pill Baby Fund. I imagine so. I tried to bump it this month, and it was not the month to do it. Maybe we can get to 3,000 though. Can we get 75% of the way there? We will see. If you'd like to contribute, obviously, Streamlabs link, tips.kingpill.com. There's also Venmo and Cash App Patel. Buy me a coffee. And, of course, the best way to do it is to join the King Pill Discord, kingpilled.com. Come join us. We'll have a good time over the weekend. Hope you guys have yourselves a great weekend. Go to church on Sunday, because you know your vice president will. You will be at church worshiping God at the same moment that your vice president is. Be there. Don't miss it. And I will catch you guys back here on Monday for another episode of the ASTROLABE. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough.